This story began the day when a tired young man named Sam woke up in an unknown place, looked around, and discovered something strange. Seeing the giant door in front of him, he wondered what she was doing there and assumed he was hallucinating. He crawled closer and discovered that there was nothing behind this door. It was just hanging in the air, as if under the influence of some strange magic. Driven by incredible curiosity, he decided to open the door and press the handle, hearing a characteristic click. A few moments later, he rushed forward into a bloody door that led to some inexplicable subspace located in an unknown place. Sam felt the cold ground under his hands and began to be more and more surprised by what was happening. He looked ahead and discovered that in front of him was a gigantic corridor of incredible length. Rising to his feet, he wondered what this place was and tried to call out to someone to find out who lived there. After a few seconds, he began to hear a strange chomping sound, which became more and more disgusting with each passing second and filled him with fear. He watched in horror as a giant skeleton with 3 eyes crawled out of the vast darkness, with a huge amount of blood pouring out of its mouth. Sam turned around in horror, realizing that this monster was heading towards him with far from friendly intentions. The skeleton let out a loud roar and tried to stretch out a bony hand to grab him, but he managed to get out with incredible speed. He slammed the door in front of himself, wishing the skeleton a nice day and apologizing for disturbing it. The young man noted that it was damn dangerous and wondered if this skeleton would be able to knock down the door, which was starting to disappear quite quickly. A mysterious voice spoke to him and informed him that the ability to bind the world together had awakened within him. Sam looked around in horror, wondering who was talking to him and what kind of creature was trying to contact him. The voice told him not to be nervous, stating that he was trapped in another world and could now only communicate in this way. The first thing he did was demand that Sam open his backpack and take out the relic that was inside. Sam looked at the skeleton statue, with a spike sticking out of its head in surprise, and wondered what it was. The voice replied that it was a cursed statue. He also added that someone deliberately placed this statue next to him to cast a family curse and take his soul, but he survived. Looking down at himself, Sam felt memories rush into his head, telling him that he was not the owner of this body. The voice explained that the previous owner of this body was destroyed, as his soul was burned by the statue. Sam died from overwork in his past life, and his soul teleported to another dimension and took over this body, which was now completely under his control. The mysterious voice noted that, since the family curse did not kill him, it meant that it gave him a power that no one had before. The statue crumbled, and a voice ordered Sam to knock again on the gate that was about to appear before him. Sam wondered what this gate was, and the voice replied that it belonged to him, as he had the ability to link worlds together. The voice also said that, because he had behaved politely when he entered the gate last time, he had been judged as a polite person. Sam glanced at the strange system notification and discovered that he now had the title of polite person, which gave him an advantage. The voice said that his power would soon run out and advised Sam to be careful and not use the ancestral curse statue against his people. He also explained that he was telling Sam this so that he would free him, adding that he was currently in a nightmare world. The sound began to fade away, and a mysterious voice stated that if Sam freed him, he would receive an amazing reward. Sam tried to extract useful knowledge from the memories of the previous owner of this body, but found nothing concrete. He decided not to rush, and noted that he needed to think everything over, since he had no means of self-defense. He decided to enter the gate to see everything for himself. At first, he was put off by the thought that there could be something terrible inside these gates, but he quickly came to the conclusion that if anything happened, he could escape slowly opening the door. He came to the conclusion that it would be better to try to find a common language with this giant skeleton, since fighting with the dead was useless. A few moments later, the giant skeleton, resembling a creepy centipede, appeared in front of him again and looked at him attentively. Sam tried to greet the creature, introduced himself by name, and thought that if he didn't act aggressively, he might be able to befriend it. The skeleton continued to stare at its uninvited guest and chomped with its creepy mouth, which had an incredible number of sharp teeth. Sam continued to negotiate peace, apologizing for the disturbance and adding that he wanted to befriend the creature. The skeleton's patience quickly ran out, and he swung his arm to crush the insignificant boy who dared to invade his domain. Sam jumped back, saving himself from the certain death that would have followed if the skeleton's second arm had not been broken. He noted that he only wanted to talk, and mentally wondered where the skeleton got such incredible strength from. The giant skeleton became increasingly angry and attempted to crush the door, from which his interlocutor had emerged, thereby demonstrating his unfriendliness. Sam managed to jump back out and end up in a hospital bed, but the adrenaline continued to make his heart beat faster. For several more minutes, he also noted that it was very dangerous, but was relieved to realize that if the gate was closed, the skeleton would disappear. Sam decided to access the system to get better titles, but he saw information that these titles could only be used once a day. Rising, he called upon the gate again and said that if this pile of bones continued to stand near the door, he would not be able to deal with it even tomorrow. To begin with, he decided to recall his skills as a top vacuum cleaner salesman, apologized again for disturbing the giant skeleton, and showed persistence. The skeleton showed by his whole appearance and actions that he had no interest in buying anything, and bit off a huge piece of the door to destroy. There was no limit to the mortality of this strange creature, and it was unlikely that anyone could imagine a creature that could survive a fight with this demon. A few moments later, Sam came out the door again next to the creature and declared that all his attempts to finish it off were useless. Continuing to smile, he added that it was impossible to eat it, since he traveled in 2 worlds at once, and finally suggested that they talk. The skeleton once again tried to destroy the metal door and its uninvited guest, but it was all in vain. Just a few moments later, another door opened behind him again, and Sam asked if he could just listen to him. This time the skeleton realized that this man could not be killed, and with a bored or perhaps even enchanted look, turned away, but Sam tried to stop him. He also said he noticed the skeleton's injury, stating that when it eats people, new bones grow where the left arm was broken. The skeleton turned briefly towards the protagonist and confirmed that his assumptions were 100% correct. Sam stated that he couldn't let the skeleton eat it, but his world had plenty of bone-friendly things to offer. To begin with, he suggested pills, adding that besides them, there were many supplements that would be much more nutritious and useful than himself. Sam added that he would be able to supply him with all of this in full if he agreed to cooperate. Suddenly, the giant skeleton turned towards Sam, and strange energy began to erupt from its hand. Sam tried to back away, realizing he would need to hide again to survive this energy attack. However, a few moments later, a contract appeared in front of his face, and a mysterious voice informed him that the agreement had been made. Sam was surprised that it was a contract, and was pleased with his success. Hoping that everything would go more smoothly from now on, the voice stated that Sam had signed a contract with the father of the Dark Bones and the Lord of the Underworld, named Machete. The voice also stated that this creature was an officer of the combat squad of the 5th team of the Army of Darkness. Other words echoed in his head, saying that the contents of the contract were an equal exchange, since the creature hoped to regain its strength. The skeleton also stated that he never signs contracts with anyone except the gods, so Sam better understand the value of this agreement. Another mysterious being said that the signatory was Sam, who had defeated the curse of the fallen evil spirits and become the guardian of the dream realm. Once both parties to this transaction accepted the contract, some kind of connection was created between them. After some time, his parents came to him and said that if he felt unwell, he should immediately tell them. The kind parents did not know that the real owner of this body had already died, so they still took care of him, thinking that this was their dear son. Sam shyly thanked them for their concern, but they replied that gratitude was out of the question, since it was their duty. Sam thought about how he had been an orphan in his past life, and now he felt good, knowing that there was someone who could take care of him. His peace was short-lived, as several police officers entered the room and announced that they were from the local police station. One of the police officers said that there are many incidents every year, and they still have no solutions to them. But fortunately, Sam recovered. Sam frowned, thinking that things were actually much worse than they thought. He remembered that the real owner of this body, unfortunately, was killed by a family curse. Sam wondered if someone faced something like this, there was nothing they could do, if they just had to go with fate. The police looked at their interlocutor in surprise, trying to understand what he wanted to say. Another police officer said he understood his feelings perfectly, adding that he had something to say about it. A policeman with a metal arm said that the hospital would soon close the exits, and no one would be allowed to leave. Sam noticed that the policeman had 3 stars on his uniform, meaning he was a captain at such a young age, and thanked him for his help. The young police captain said that Sam was just a schoolboy and was unlikely to have any serious enemies turning around. He added that since they had managed to talk, it meant their time was up and they had to go about their business. Sam thought that the king of fallen spirits was very dangerous, and not only the police, but also the government could do nothing about him. He also wondered why someone would think of sending such a powerful curse on a simple schoolboy. After a while, it began to get dark, and the policeman quickly went into his room. Sam asked why he came back. The officer handed him a business card and informed him that if anything happened, he should definitely dial this number immediately. After this, he calmly turned around and left the room, wishing him a speedy recovery. Sam examined the contents of the card and realized that the policeman's name was Captain Lundgren. He was glad that there were still good people left in the police force, considering that the captain had hardly followed instructions. When he gave him the card, however, he understood that he couldn't rely on this, because if everyone knew that he was still alive, then the killer would definitely not give up until he achieved his goal in an attempt to figure out who might have tried to plant the cursed statue on him. He suggested that even his family might have been involved. Rising to his feet, he extended his hand forward to summon a metal door. The gate materialized in front of him in the blink of an eye, while Sam stated that he needed to become as strong as possible to keep himself and his loved ones safe. Immediately after that, he entered a more or less familiar world, supporting the smile of the seller to talk to Machete, holding the special package. In his hands, he wondered if his comrade named Skull was here. Immediately after these words, the air became very uneasy and an unpleasant crunch of bones was heard, signaling the approach of the owner. The skeleton sank down, but Sam continued to communicate with him in a polite tone, saying that he had brought the promised pills. In response, the skeleton extended its thin finger to utter a mysterious spell. Sam looked at this in surprise, wondering if he was trying to take the pills, and then took them out of the bag to hand to his interlocutor. However, a moment later, a contract appeared in the giant skeleton's hand, and a bright flash erupted next to it. The system informed the protagonist that the other side was waiting for their gifts, and was offering in exchange a precious relic of an ancient warrior. The system also said that as a reward, he would receive a primordial dream crystal, which was created by the elves and could improve stats. Sam reached out to the crystal and took it for himself, thinking that this knowledge and skills could be very useful. Gripping the crystal tighter, he cracked it to absorb the essence and soak up all the power it contained. The system imbued him with skills he had not previously known, noting that they all belonged to elves, and also informed him that the clan of elves and undead fought all year round. The system also said that this technique improves the body so that the elves can better resist their enemies. Sam was delighted with the generous rewards for his gifts, and noted that he had never felt so strong and agile. Machete, meanwhile, decided to use his telekinetic skills to pull all those calcium, strengthening pills towards himself. From the outside, it seemed rather strange, but in fact it could really help the creature heal its wounds. After a few moments, the creature took a few steps back, dissolving into the darkness, and leaving behind only 3 green flashes. Sam was surprised by such secrecy and wondered why they were hiding, if they had signed a contract. After some time, he decided to close the gate, realizing that he would first better study the technique, after which he heard a strange knock on the door. The system said that the first technique, Deer Under the Moon, required 3 dexterity points, but Sam only had 2 so far. A few moments later, he heard a creepy voice that made him wonder if he was still alive. In an attempt to figure out who was talking to him, he turned around and saw a strange silhouette in the window. The creepy man, who turned out to be an artificial killer, said that in that case, he would kill him himself, not wanting to waste time talking. He rushed forward to perform a powerful jumping attack. Sam decided to use his newly acquired techniques and dodge the attack. With some difficulty, the killer, armed with a knife and a firearm, said he was a little impressed by the dexterity. Sam wondered if the killer had come so quickly to take his life forever. Immediately after that, he decided to activate the politeness skill and asked his interlocutor what he was looking for in this place. The killer called him a pathetic little bug and said he had come to take his life. Sam desperately tried to activate the Elven skills, but he almost failed due to the lack of the necessary characteristics. Try to end the battle as quickly as possible. The killer grabbed his gun, saying that he couldn't dodge a bullet anyway. The shot was unsuccessful, but Sam's adrenaline soared to unprecedented heights. The system told him that he could absorb skills and level up, and Sam noted that it wasn't a very timely notification. Almost instantly, he absorbed the politeness skill to gain another point of dexterity and acquire a new skill rushing forward. He easily dodged another blow from his opponent and decided to rely on cunning. A moment later, he summoned a metal gate and hid there with incredible speed, leaving behind a greenish trail. The enraged killer ran inside and declared that his opponent would not escape. Using pathetic tricks running through the mysterious door, he found himself in a dimension of nightmares and looked around in search of his target. Sam found himself behind him, walked to the door, said goodbye to the killer, and left him to his fate. He quickly slammed the metal door shut, and the killer rushed after him, trying to open it to finish off Sam. The door immediately disappeared, and a giant skeleton appeared in front of the killer, yearning for real victims. Before the killer realized what was happening, he found himself in the jaws of the monster, which immediately broke him with its strength. A disgusting chomping sound was heard in the air, after which the giant skeleton's hand began to gradually recover. Sam, meanwhile, leaned tensely against the wall and tried to catch his breath, feeling that this time he had only miraculously escaped death. He admitted that it was very scary, and that he had no idea that the killer would get to him so suddenly. Suddenly his thoughts were interrupted by a system message that he had given great pleasure to his contract partner. In response to this, the skeleton decided to give him the Pale Shadows crown, as well as a silver military badge. Sam examined the items and realized that the Pale Shadows crown allowed him to pretend to be an elf, and the silver military badge allowed him to travel to the land of the elves. He tried to put on the crown, and noted that he had no idea how profitable this deal would be. First, he decided to try on the crown, and as soon as it was on his head, his body was transformed, and he became an elf. Looking at himself through the front camera of his phone, he happily noted that he really had become an elf, and would try out new possibilities tomorrow. Sam heard a knock on the door of his room, and wondered if another killer had come for his life. The voice seemed quite friendly to him. Someone stated that if everything was okay with Sam, then he was very glad to know it. After which he introduced himself as Hank. Sam delved into the memories of the previous guardian of this body, and remembered that Hank was his best friend, who went to the hospital that day to visit him. Taking a few steps forward, he opened the door, and Hank immediately hugged him tightly, saying that he was very worried about him. Hank's eyes filled with tears, and he apologized, adding that if it weren't for him, Sam wouldn't be in such serious trouble. Sam replied that he didn't blame him and that everything was fine, when suddenly his mother came into the room and was surprised to see him. Sam led his mother into the room and asked why she came alone and where his father had gone to this. She replied that he had gone to his grandfather for some pills. Mom also said that these were special restorative pills. Hank was surprised to note that even rich people cannot afford such drugs. Hank noted that Sam had incredibly caring parents and advised him to get well soon and return to school as he had exams ahead of him. Sam remembered that the previous owner of the body was still in school, which meant that he had entrance exams ahead of him. Hank sadly noted that Sam was the best student and could have entered any prestigious institution, but now he missed his exams. Sam thought about how the entrance exams in this world were different from the ones he had encountered before. The young man also realized that he now needed to be more vigilant, since a real hunt had been declared for him. He realized that going to school was very dangerous, and his face became sadder, which his mother immediately noticed. Sam realized that if he gave up, nothing good would happen to him, and most likely he would simply be killed. Seeing this, the main character's mother took a few steps forward and gently hugged her son to make him feel calmer. The woman said that if he didn't want to take the exams, it was okay. She also added that they only hope that he will recover and finally regain his strength. Sam felt incredible warmth and genuine love from his mother and realized that this time it would be easier for him to cope with difficulties. Smiling, he assured her that he was not that weak and asked her not to worry about him. The young man realized that if he refused to take the exams, his mother would not be against it. However, he realized that he simply could not do this and announced that he would go to school tomorrow and take part in the tests. Sam noted that the memories of the body's previous owner were haunting his mind and discovered that his family had a noble background. He also found out that the relationships between relatives in the family were very bad, and his parents had never asked his grandfather for help before, and lived off their own labor. Sam immediately realized that this was most likely why they had worked so hard to obtain these drugs. From his point of view, they decided to turn to their grandfather to help them get hold of some very important and expensive drugs. Sam thought sadly that their son was already dead, but he couldn't let them down, so he decided not to break their hearts. The next day, he went to the prestigious school to get used to the building. Quite quickly, he immersed himself in new textbooks, trying to gain as much knowledge as possible to pass the exam. He reflected on how discipline was very different here, and assumed that the school was so crowded that assassins would be unlikely to come after him. Suddenly, a classmate approached him and told him that a girl named Charlie was waiting for him in the hallway. Sam briefly delved into his memories and realized that this girl had been a friend of the owner of this body some time ago. Charlie said that she heard that he wanted to take the exams, and added that she knew the first exam well and would definitely get into the best school. Sam congratulated her and noted that he was very glad that she was able to show herself. At a high level, Charlie continued her strange monologue and said that she really wished he wouldn't come near her anymore. The other school children who heard this conversation immediately started laughing and declared that the school flower had rejected Sam. Charlie stressed that they were on different levels and stated that it was better for them to go their separate ways, meaning their friendship was over. Sam asked what was going on and pointed out that he had only missed one exam, but Charlie replied that she had already deleted him from her contacts. Sam said that all these years, Charlie came to their class to look for him, but he never took the initiative, adding that he did not want to be friends with her. Other students recalled that when Sam was the best student in the class, Charlie would follow him around, which meant she was simply trying to get attached to him. Charlie's friend came to his defense, saying that she had given him so many gifts, and he allowed himself to behave so brazenly. Charlie burst into tears and admitted that all this time, she thought that there was a strong friendship between them. Sam realized that something was definitely wrong with this situation and said that he accepted her gifts, but not her, after which the other students began to rejoice. After that, he turned around and said that she shouldn't have tried to tie him down with gifts, and also added that he could return them if she wanted. Finally, he showed her the middle finger and noted that he was no longer going to be friends with her. Charlie's friend shouted after him that he was a pathetic idiot who didn't know what he was doing. Suddenly, other students also took her side and said that, even if he had good grades, he was behaving too lowly. Charlie tried to explain herself to him, thinking that she hadn't meant for things to turn out this way, and wondering how she could talk to him now. After some time, a huge bully appeared in Sam's path and ordered him to stop. The bully stated that Charlie had not finished speaking yet, so Sam should not have left so brazenly. Sam recognized the man and realized that it was a young man named Stan. Standing in front of him, he added that he was heading to his class. Stan angrily stated that his strength had increased significantly, and if Sam didn't want to lie around with broken bones, he'd better apologize to Charlie. Sam replied that he had misunderstood everything, since it was Charlie who had come here in the first place to embarrass him. A few moments later, he turned around and gravely declared that she had won this confrontation. He also said that she could continue to pester him, and everything would be exactly the way she wanted. Immediately after this, he turned around and started running away, letting everyone notice the tears on his face, as well as the expression of genuine sadness. Charlie looked on in surprise, as the other students began to suspect that she might have just made the boy cry. In an attempt to avoid looking terrible to everyone around her, she rushed after him, declaring that this was not what she had in mind, and that she had in no way wanted to force him into it. Stan also rushed after Sam, declaring that he would teach him a lesson for his behavior in public. Sam waited until his opponent's punch was a few centimeters away from him, and then dove down to dodge it. A moment later, he grabbed Stan with his arms and soared into the air, performing an incredibly complex maneuver. The other students watched what was happening, their mouths open and not believing what they had just seen. Stan was surprised at how easily his opponent outplayed his offensive tactics. In an instant, Sam finished, using the Elven technique to show everyone in the hallway how good he was. The students were instantly impressed by his incredible grace and acrobatic skills, stating that his opponent did not even have time to understand anything. Sam reminded them that he had already apologized to everyone involved in the argument and wondered what else they wanted from it. The duty officer intervened, asked the students what they were doing there, and then recommended that everyone return to class. To continue the exam, the students returned to their seats, discussing how much they liked the way Sam handled the situation. Finally, Stan stated that they were still not finished, and the fire of hostility still burned between them. After some time, the scene moved to a sports ground, where most of the school children were playing football. Sam continued to stretch to get in top shape, when Hank suddenly ran up to him. Want to talk? He stated that the testing was going very slowly, so it wouldn't be their turn anytime soon, which meant they had time to go get some comics. Sam remembered that he had forgotten to take the note, and decided to return to the office, citing the fact that he had a stomach ache, and would be leaving for a short while. Immediately after that, he went into the school corridor to enter the empty classroom. He opened the door and immediately went inside to pick up the necessary letter that he had forgotten. A few moments later, the killer emerged from a dark corner, glad that his victim had finally let his guard down. A mysterious silhouette entered the room where Sam had just been. The attacker was armed with a mysterious pen that emitted dark energy. Signaling great danger, the silhouette went into the toilet to find out which stall the main character was hiding in, to kill him hearing a strange noise. He walked up to the booth and quickly opened it to make sure his target was inside. The booth was empty, and the killer wondered what was going on here, noting that Sam had just entered this very booth. Meanwhile, Sam found himself in the body of an elf, thanks to the crown he was wearing, and entered another dimension through the summon gate. Looking around, he discovered that the skeleton was currently in some other place and was not patrolling the area. Walking a little further, he saw the killer's pistol, which had been lying on the ground all this time. Sam examined the firearm closely and found that it contained ammunition, noting that this item could be very useful for self-defense. Immediately after that, he took out his military medal and wondered where the skeleton could have gone. But now he couldn't waste time on that. As soon as he clutched the amulet in his hands, a small portal began to form right under his feet. He immediately heard the mysterious voice that had addressed him. At the moment of his awakening in this body, the voice said that it could do nothing more for him, and offered him one last gift before disappearing. Sam looked at his hand, and the voice explained that it was a keepsake that would make traveling to different worlds easier. A few moments later, there was no trace left of the mysterious creature, but energy particles continued to float in the air. For some time, Sam found himself in an unusual place, reminiscent of a fantasy world inhabited by various creatures. Looking around, he felt very dizzy and assumed that he had indeed entered the world of elves. Looking at his hand, he found a blade in it, and guessed that this was the very gift from the mysterious voice. A few moments later, he heard other voices belonging to elves, asking who was there. The elves approached him and called him by his name, wondering if he was okay and how he was feeling. Sam was surprised to be called by that name, and guessed that it was the name of the elf he could now transform into. The other elves, wearing similar diadems on their heads, joyfully declared that if he had not come, they would have declared the mission a failure. Sam watched them and realized that they were most likely real elves, since they also wore camouflage items. One of the elves said that now that he was here, they had gained the trust of the Elven tribe, as they were considered soldiers. Sam reported that he was almost back to his senses, and carefully reached for his tiara. The other elves immediately rushed to him, telling him that he should not have taken off the diadem. Under any circumstances, they explained that if he did so, their cover would be breached and the mission would certainly fail. Sam apologized to his comrades for his behavior and suggested that the skeleton had previously pretended to be this elf, but now it was his turn. The other elves said that it was time to go to the Elven settlement and called him with them, adding that they had already lost too much time. Sam continued to follow his new companions and thought that they were moving quite fast and were most likely powerful creatures. They reached the village towards nightfall, and one of the elves said that they needed to get permission from the chief, and to do that they needed to show their mettle. Immediately after this, the elf turned to Sam and reminded him that they were supposed to kill the village chief by pretending to be ordinary soldiers. Sam asked them in surprise if he really had to kill the village chief and try to find out why he was chosen. The creatures pretending to be elves immediately became more sinister and asked why he refused this order. Sam immediately realized that he needed to start pretending and said that his blade was hungry for blood. He realized that if he refused the order, he would be killed on the spot, so he had no choice but to act. However, he knew that he could not carry out this order because he did not want to kill innocent elves who had done nothing wrong to him. The guards watching Sam and his companions demanded that they stop and show their insignia. Once they did this, the elves became more friendly and informed them that they would now take them to the head of the village. The village turned out to be quite cozy and beautiful, but at the same time, well hidden so as to remain unnoticed for a long time. Sam looked around and noticed that the elves led a rather modest lifestyle while remaining a friendly people. He also noted that elven women were a model of beautiful, refined appearance. After some time, they reached a large tree, and the guards reported that the head of the village already knew about their visit. Sam's partner said that he should have gone ahead, adding that they would wait for him nearby. Sam wondered again how he had ended up in the middle of a fight between elves and the undead. However, he began to think that if he could kill the village chief, he might gain incredible power. As he walked further, he looked around and noticed a dark figure standing in the middle of the room, illuminated by a mysterious light. A tall elf dressed in strange clothing and wearing a huge cloak that stretched across the floor was busy reading a fascinating book. Noticing Sam's approach, the elf quickly closed the book, making a rather loud sound. Immediately after this, he turned his head towards the protagonist and said that he was very glad to see him, calling him a soldier from the front line. Sam looked at his interlocutor in surprise, and the system informed him that he could now view information about other creatures. The system immediately announced that before him stood the protector of the nightmare world, the great magician, the fifth world leader, and also the ruler of nature. Sam realized that compared to the huge number of titles of this elf, he himself seemed like just a pitiful bug. Gritting his teeth, he realized that he definitely couldn't kill this elf, and his three companions were much stronger than him, but even they wouldn't have the courage. Sam realized that even if he were a brave man, he still could not do anything against the heir to the throne of the ancient tree, the master of nature and a great magician. Meanwhile, the village chief thanked Sam for his contribution and informed him that he could now have a good rest. With these words, he decided to teleport him, adding that a festive banquet was being held in their honor, which needed to be enjoyed. A few moments later, Sam found himself in a small tavern next to his partners. The elves said that they could now rest a little and stated that the target would be joining the banquet a little later. So they still had time. Sam thought that continuing in the same spirit was tantamount to waiting for death, so something had to be done urgently. After a while, a charming and sweet girl approached him and asked if he would mind dancing a little. The girl said it was a great honor for her to have the opportunity to dance with a frontline hero who fought against the undead. Sam decided not to refuse such a charming girl and said that he was not the best dancer, but she replied that she would help him. With these words, they began to dance, and Sam realized that he had not felt so relaxed and romantic for a long time, thanks to the grace of this elf. Sam was surprised by such an attitude from an innocent girl and was glad about the situation he found himself in. The young man thought that he was very sorry that he would soon die, because if it weren't for all these underground games with the undead, he would have danced with this girl all his life. The girl asked him why he had remained silent all this time, adding that apparently the battle had affected him and his comrades. Sam smiled and said that he was just a terrible dancer, then asked her what her name was. The girl replied that her name was Lonnie. Sam asked Mrs. Laney if he could give her a gift, to which the girl enthusiastically replied that she would be very happy to receive it. Immediately after that, she said that he actually danced quite well and offered to take the bracelet as a thank you. She then joked that if he disappointed her, he would have to return the bracelet. Sam replied that he happily accepted this condition. With these words, he climbed up on the table and attracted the attention of the crowd by declaring that he had something he wanted to say. He said that he was actually human and could change his shape at will. Lenny supported him and asked to show it, noting that she had never seen people in real life. The undead, disguised as elves, began to wonder what their comrade was doing, but some assumed that he was trying to provoke the leader to appear. Sam asked everyone to look at him and slowly pulled the tiara up to return to his normal appearance. Immediately after, he threw the tiara forward to give it to Lonnie, at which point he returned to his form. He also called Lonnie a wonderful girl, to thank her for the wonderful evening as much as he could. The elves applauded him joyfully and said that they had never seen such young people. But Sam knew that this was not enough. Enjoying the attention of the crowd, he said that he was a man simply by removing this crown. But that was not all with these words. He pointed to his partners and said that his brothers possessed similar magic. He happily said that if they took off the crown, they would become evil spirits since they had been hiding their intentions all this time. The angry elves immediately turned towards these people and wondered if they were right. The elves immediately drew their weapons and pointed them towards the hiding undead, ordering them to remove their crowns. Sam at this point summoned a gate to hide in and said that after his 3 brothers changed, he would return home finally. He said goodbye to the lady, waving his hand at her once again, thanking her for the wonderful time they spent together. Lonnie watched in alarm as Sam disappeared, while her comrades rushed after the undead to delay them. A few moments later, a huge number of roots appeared, capturing the spies who had infiltrated the village. To carry out their deed, these tree roots began to squeeze their bodies so that they could not get out under any circumstances. The village chief said that the undead wanted to infiltrate his village, but they didn't expect a human to work. On 2 fronts, the elves tried to get out of the situation and said that there was some misunderstanding, and they still had orders. However, as soon as the branches were torn from their tiaras, their true appearance was immediately revealed. The chief elf said that the magic of transformation was discovering the crown, and noted that he was amazed by this amazing technique. Finally, the chief elf said that he was indebted to this brave man, who decided to help the elves continue to look around for Sam, and found that he was already gone without a trace. Sam said he had no idea the gate would adjust to its environment, and noted that the situation was risky. After some time, he suddenly discovered a skeleton that was busy eating another unfortunate person who had wandered into this world. Sam approached him in a disgruntled tone and said that he had been fighting while his comrade, with whom he had made a contract, was busy with another feast. Sam looked at his interlocutor in surprise and asked him if he was still alive, and reproached him for deliberately giving him the crown Machete, asked him how he managed to survive, promising a reward in return, to which Sam stated that he almost died because of him and was not ready to discuss it with him. A few moments later, a scroll appeared in front of him, which indicated that the other side had prepared a powerful undead spell for him, which was very valuable. Sam threw the scroll aside, declaring that he would never sell himself for it. Machete said that he gave him the crown of the Pale Shadows because he was a man and the elves and men were allies. But if he had gone there himself, he would have died. Another scroll informed him that as an apology, the other party had gone beyond the principles of equal exchange and decided to hand over the heritage crystal. The flower grants him 3 undead talents. Machete said that the talent refers to personal, characteristic abilities that can be displayed. Machete also said that the reason he is still alive after being injured is because they want that crystal. However, he is now handing it over. Sam forgave his comrade, but this was the last time he showed mercy on such an occasion, after which he found himself near another giant skeleton. 3 spheres appeared above Sam's head, mysteriously sparkling and not moving. The skeleton, who had a crown on his head, said that he should choose one of the talents and appropriate it for himself. The first talent was Dark Whisper, which allowed you to talk to the dead, to ask them a few questions. Another talent allowed one to become immortal for a few seconds upon receiving a fatal blow. Finally, the third talent allowed him to create a fireball and place it on the body of an undead that died in battle, to resurrect it. Sam tried to figure out which of these talents was the most useful and realized that resurrecting the undead was definitely a pointless choice. After thinking for a while, he decided that only by mastering the information could he be an opponent, and chose the talent of talking to the dead. As soon as he grabbed this strange crystal, a green flash appeared in the air, which threw the main character aside. Sam rejoiced that he could now speak with the dead, while Machete asked him if he had made his choice. The skeleton also said that in his memory, no one had chosen this talent since it does not increase combat stats. After this, the skeleton wondered if he could tell what had actually happened, noting that it was very important to him. After hearing the story, the skeleton said that the original target of the murder was supposed to be the sacrifice elf, and the head of the village is the most powerful priest. Sam mused that he was no longer surprised that the elf had so many titles, while the skeleton stated that outliving the undead king would now be a threat to him. Without another word, he turned and ran away in an unknown direction, leaving Sam alone with himself. Having made sure that his interlocutor had left him for a long time, he called the gate and said that every family has its own darkness, so he would not be in this flattery. After some time, he gained another skill, thanks to which he could actually become a member of some group, if he said that he was one of them. This skill was of green rarity, and Sam admitted that it was very cool and could help him. He also found a nature blessing bracelet that Lonnie had given him, saying that this thing would be very good, returning to the real world. He came to the conclusion that he had tried well today, since he had learned a new technique and received a bracelet. The physical education department said a physical skills test would now be administered, adding that Hank would be taking it. After the start of the test was announced, the young man rushed forward, but mysterious splashes and incomprehensible substances began to fly out of numerous holes. Sam watched his comrade closely and supported him, wishing him luck in this test. Hank happily responded to his friend, saying that it was all nonsense and that he could handle it, after which he thanked him for his support. In fact, he started celebrating too early, because this time he was too careless and got some weird facts. Right in his face, the gym teacher reported that Hank earned 71 points and advised him to be glad that it was not a real exam. In the next test, Sam became a participant and was told that he needed to prepare well in order to pass it with the highest possible score. As soon as the command was given to begin the test, he rushed forward, deftly dodging all the obstacles in strange colors. Students watching him commented that Sam had a very tense posture and acted as if he was ice skating. Sam mused that it all didn't feel that hard, and that thanks to the Elven items, he could predict where the next attack would come from. All this time, he was being watched by a mysterious man in glasses, who was interested to discover that this boy had potential. He turned to his friend and said that this was very interesting footage, to which the man replied that this was their first class, and they had missed the first exam, but he was still an excellent candidate. The mysterious man said that this boy had a good physique and talent, and if he got a top score on the spiritual ability test, he would give him a chance. The man's partner, whose name was Cedric, asked him if he wanted to take a spiritual ability test. The man also said that one should wait for the results and then look at the scores, since the average score will not be enough. Meanwhile, Sam successfully completed the test. The teacher, with tears in his eyes, announced that he received the highest score on the dexterity test. Immediately after this, they said that they needed to take a break for lunch. Hank praised his comrades, saying that he expected no less from him. Sam went to the library feeling incredibly tired. After a while, trying to immerse himself in his studies, he thought that he could forget about all the ordinary objects of his world, since now he had to immerse himself in a history course. He also thought that in his head, it was as if different memories were fighting. But unknown people approached him to interrupt his studies. A moment later, the bully Stan made powerful blows, knocking the desk aside and also hitting the protagonist in the face. He looked menacingly at his victim, saying that he had already warned, and that retribution would surely come. Sam looked at the bully in surprise and asked him if they came here, because Charlie ordered them to do so. Stan ordered him not to even say the girl's name. As other people entered the room, he also stated that in his absence, his strength had grown to level 2, and offered to compare his strength with his agility. Sam, by saying that he didn't care about these threats, activated the skill of independence. At that very moment, the hooligans began to perceive him as their friend and looked at him in surprise, trying to understand what they were doing there. They also said that they came here at Charlie's request, and admitted that they didn't really want to fight him. Sam thought about the fact that the skill only lasted for 10 seconds, but he already had the information he needed. Sam also realized that, since this skill could only be used once per day, he immediately decided to absorb it to gain 3 stat points. At this point, he put all those stat points into his strength to become a much more serious warrior. A moment later, one of the hooligans grabbed him from behind so that he could not actively resist, unaware of what awaited him. Stan also ran forward and wondered how many ribs Sam was willing to sacrifice to stop being beaten. He tried to close the distance between himself and the enemy by striking the protagonist's body, but it was all useless. Sam looked at his opponent in surprise while Stan felt incredible pain, which immediately spread to his fingers. He jumped back and clutched his hand, realizing that all of his fingers were broken. Sam, meanwhile, broke free from the grip and thought about the fact that adults who have not undergone special training have basic strength and agility indicators at level 1. At that very moment, he counterattacked his attacker. Knocking him out, Sam reflected on the fact that force was not just a crude means of physically pressuring people in reality. Strength refers more to the strength of a person's limbs and bones, as well as the strength of the 5 internal organs and 6 senses. Sam lectured his opponents, saying that he had only missed one exam, and they already thought they could beat him. Sam picked up his opponent and said that if he tried to bully other people, he would also get into trouble. He also said that they are humiliating others, bringing them down, depriving them of a bright future without any purpose. With these words, he began to sort things out with the other hooligans, asking them if they really expected easy forgiveness. Screams began to echo throughout the room, attracting the attention of other students and teachers. The gym teacher quickly opened the doors, asking what they were doing here, trying to figure out what had happened. Looking closer, he discovered a large number of beaten hooligans and Sam, who apparently was also injured. The young man immediately turned on his acting game, saying that these people had offended him and it had hurt him a lot. The physical education teacher looked at the beaten hooligans in surprise, asking if he really believed that anyone would believe such a lie. Charlie watched in amazement as she realized that she had made a huge mistake in her actions. She also wondered in surprise whether the group of hooligans could not deal with such an opponent, assuming that this man was so strong. She knew that this was not the end and that she still had a chance. Charlie's friend asked her if she regretted her actions, watching closely as other bullies were injured. Charlie mused that if she had continued to behave well, perhaps they would still be friends. The girl asked her if everything would be different in that case, but she quickly came to the conclusion that it was a mistake. Charlie thought about how Sam had caused a real rout earlier, taking on 8 people, and after that, he would definitely not be allowed to take the exams. She understood that thanks to her strange actions, she was nevertheless able to achieve her goal, because now a bright future awaits her. Charlie talked about how she hated Sam, because she never realized how terrible a person he was. After a while, Stan was next to her and looked at her in shock, trying to say at least one word. Charlie looked back at him in fear and silently hoped that he wouldn't try to drag her into this. Stan continued to look at her sadly, and tears began to roll down his cheeks. Charlie knew that if he didn't say anything for a few more seconds, she hoped he wouldn't say another word. However, this hope turned out to be in vain, and tears gradually flowed down the girl's face, blurring her vision more and more. A few moments later, Stan said Charlie's name and nothing more, but there was a dead silence among the other students. Charlie knew that if she didn't do anything, everyone would start to suspect that she was behind the attack. Her face began to rapidly turn red and her throat became tight, but she decided not to give in and play on other people's feelings. She immediately started crying and said that she would definitely call the police, so that Sam would be punished for this. The PE teacher wondered why call the police, adding that they don't take on problems anymore. He knew he was going to have a very long workday now, and the teachers were saying that everyone else should leave, and Sam should go with him. Meanwhile, Cedric was walking around the school office, telling him that he had some wonderful students to look out for. A few moments later, a teacher ran up to the principal and said that Sam and Stan had gotten into a fight, and now even the police had arrived. The director asked her why she was telling him this information, to which the girl showed him her phone, saying that someone had recorded a video of this fight. At first, the director said that there was nothing surprising about this, but after that the two of them began to observe what was happening. After some time, the police also looked at this video to find out how the fight went. They asked Sam if he had been recording what was happening on camera, the whole time, to which he replied in fear that he was afraid that he would be killed. The police officer said that despite having the video, he would still have to go with them to answer some questions. The physical education teacher stood up for his student and said that Sam had simply encountered some oddities and had already missed the exam due to health reasons. The police replied that they would return him as soon as they sorted it out, but the teacher said that they were ruining his future. The principal and Cedric entered the room and said that Sam was very wise to record the attack, as otherwise he would have been expelled. Cedric also said that his physical form is superior to others, which means they are not his equal opponents. After that, he came closer to him and said that he watched the video of his fight and realized that he was holding back, to which Sam replied that he was afraid of killing his opponents. Cedric handed him a business card, saying that he had high moral character and that he had just earned a high rating for his skills. Sam studied the card closely and realized that it belonged to an organization that owned the legacy of various martial arts knowledge. To put it simply, if Sam gets into this company, he will rise from rags to riches, because this is the road to career heaven. Sam looked in surprise at the man standing in front of him and realized that this was a very unusual person. Taking a closer look at him, he realized that this man gave the impression that he had no weaknesses or rivals. Cedric talked about how the rating system had analyzed that his strength was at least 4.5 points and asked what specific stats he had. Sam realized with horror that this man was incredibly strong, and if he worked under his leadership, then the killers would surely leave him alone. Trying not to lie to his interlocutor, he said that at the moment he had 5 points of strength. Cedric was saying that it was a pretty good result, and Sam was asking him if that amount of points was a good result. Cedric talked about how at the high school level, a power score of 5 is a score that is above the passing grade. Cedric also stated that once a person reaches 5 points in strength, they can control some combat-type armor. Sam agreed to Cedric's offer to join their company, and he said that a man would soon come who would organize everything. Cedric also wondered about his spiritual power stats, adding that his strength and agility stats were already up to standard. Sam tried to figure out what the correct answer to this question was, and admitted that he currently had 3 points of spiritual power. This information was so surprising that even Cedric froze in place, and the cigarette fell out of his mouth. Other people in the room were asking questions about whether this was possible, trying to understand why they had previously underestimated this man. Cedric approached him and asked if he could demonstrate this, noting that spiritual powers equal to 3 points, even allowed one to move objects with the power of thought. Sam agreed to such tests and added attribute points to his spiritual power, after which he moved a small computer chair. The police immediately turned away and said that their business here was already finished, and they just needed to leave. Some colleagues asked him if they were just going that way, to which he replied that Sam was very strong, had a good physique, which could only mean one thing. The police said that this man had a great future, and they would not be able to cope with him if he wanted to get out. Cedric immediately hugged Sam and said that he managed to surprise him, since he never expected such high results. Being an incredibly amazing person, he suddenly began to sing, and his friend, the director, said that he had never heard such a beautiful voice. After a while, Cedric said that he would like to speak with the boy alone, and the rest of the people in the room left. Cedric lit his cigarette again and took a drag, then asked the protagonist what his ideal was. Sam boldly declared that Cedric was his ideal, but Cedric asked him what he wanted most in life. Sam said that what he wants most in life is not to be a weakling, and to learn how to protect himself and his family. Cedric, saying that he liked such ideals, said that now he is the closest to his dream, after which he asked Sam to try to harm him. Sam took the suggestion, which was very odd, calling his interlocutor a hairy, unshaven old man, and returned. Whereupon Cedric said that was not what he had meant. Sam switched his stat points back to strength and tried to figure out how he could deal with such an incredible fighter. He realized that he had to do something at least, and he rushed forward hoping for luck. Cedric, not hiding his surprise, looked at the increased speed of his opponent and realized that now it would be very interesting. A few moments later, Sam froze in place, never having reached Cedric. He looked at his opponent in surprise, and he answered that it was a type of magical art that could immobilize the attacker. Cedric asked Sam if he wanted to learn this, to which he immediately answered in the affirmative, after which the man pulled out a revolver. He stated that this was far from all that this technology could do, after which he cocked the revolver. A few moments passed, and he pulled the trigger, causing a definitely loud shot to ring out. Cedric stated that there is another kind of magic art and secret archives of the company, and this magic art is capable of resisting various attacks. He also said that this art is so powerful that it can even withstand sniper rifles and other ammunition. Sam stated that martial arts really are unbreakable, and Cedric said that it was a very interesting phrase, after which he formally invited him to join the Hidden Dragons plan. Sam asked him what it was, to which Cedric replied that it was a company project to raise new stars from above. Cedric also said that ordinary people cannot access this exam because it has long been manipulated by the world clans. Seeing the wonder in Sam's eyes, Cedric said that the clans were those who inherited the knowledge, sacred tools, and blood ties from the gods of ancient times. Sam assumed that the grandfather of the previous bearer of this body most likely also belonged to these clans and possessed unprecedented power. Cedric said that the Hidden Dragons plan is essentially looking for geniuses like Sam, adding that they will help him get into the most prestigious educational institution He also said that if he manages to get into any of the top 3 schools, the entire company will support him with resources. Sam realized that in the world he found himself in, strength was valued above all else, and he agreed to participate in this program. He realized that this family had once been members of the clan, but for some reason the father had been expelled, which had left the police in a serious situation. He also realized that his mother had prayed for 4 types of medicine to restore it, but these medicines were of no particular importance to the clans. Sam also noted that he had hurt people today, but would not be held accountable, because his power had become so strong that he could break the rules. Cedric handed him the papers that needed fingerprinting, while Sam mused that he now understood why all the teachers emphasized strength. In class, Cedric said that Sam might want to reconsider, since other organizations wouldn't be watching idly. But Sam said that he had already made his choice. Cedric left and said that he needed to hurry before other organizations followed his trail. He also stated that after signing, he would return to him to discuss all matters again. At that very moment, he began to accelerate incredibly and rushed in an unknown direction, leaving behind only a fast wind. Sam looked after Cedric in shock. As the gym teacher and principal asked him how he was feeling, Sam said that he had already signed the papers. Mr. Cedric went to talk to his parents about signing the contract. After a while, Sam's phone started ringing loudly, and he picked it up, trying to figure out who was calling him. From the first words, it became clear that he had received a call from Captain Lundgren, who said that he had learned something important, expressing the hope that they could meet at the station. Sam immediately left his school and rushed to the police station to find out what happened. Lundgren greeted his interlocutor and said that he could sit down and look at some evidence. Sam looked around, thinking about how, as soon as he penetrated himself, he began to experience strange feelings. Lundgren showed him the photo and said it was taken anonymously, and that there had been more and more rumors circulating lately about the hospital where he was being treated. Sam looked closely at the photograph and admitted that he had never seen the person depicted in it. Lundgren said forensic experts believe the man appeared to be trying to activate something strange. Lundgren asked Sam if he had anything unusual on him that day, which made the protagonist nervous. Sam realized that the man was trying to activate the curse, Demon King statue. But the captain didn't catch the criminal, and the rest turned to ashes. Sam realized that there was no more lead on the case, and he could not reveal information about the statue. He said that he knew nothing. Lundgren looked at his interlocutor with some surprise and asked him if he really didn't remember anything. There was an ominous aura around him, and he said it was a bit strange, asking if he had experienced nausea, loss of consciousness, or memory lapses. Sam sensed the tension in the room and said he felt no discomfort. Sam also looked around and thought that he was haunted by the feeling that he was being watched, which meant that he needed to keep his mouth shut. Sam decided to play the fool and said that he remembered that his backpack was open, although he definitely zipped it up when he left school. Lewin Green started looking at Sam very sternly and asked him if he had checked his backpack. Sam said he hadn't looked at his backpack and was thinking about his friends starting to act strangely. At that moment, he decided to switch all his characteristics to agility, so that if anything happened, he would have the opportunity to escape almost instantly. He switched his agility to his legs to quickly run out of the office and get to safety. However, he understood that he would have to try very hard, because Captain Lundgren was very strong and would certainly be able to catch up with him. The tension continued to mount, but suddenly a loud telephone ringing sounded in the room. Sam realized that he was becoming more and more scared, but he decided to turn to the captain and asked him to answer the call. Lundgren quickly picked up the phone and ordered Sam not to move, after which he began talking to his interlocutor. On the other end of the line, a mysterious voice came from the phone, saying that Lundgren would soon be going to the next world. At that moment, a strange red energy began to emanate from the police captain's body, creating waves around itself. Sam watched what was happening in surprise and assumed that the killer was trying to attack the captain. Lundgren wondered what was going on here and tried to figure out if the killer was outside the police station. Moments later, without another word, he jumped out of the interrogation room. Breaking the glass, Sam was trying to figure out what was going on when someone started shouting that an assailant had broken into the police station. A few moments later, they found themselves on a strange island strewn with graves. Although they had just been in an inhabited city, the strange man approached Captain Lundgren and said that he had killed too many members of their church, and he must definitely avenge them. Lundgren said that if his opponent has anything to say, he should say it later since he is busy now. A strange priest from an unknown church said that there was absolutely nothing to talk about with Sam, after which he attacked the police captain. Sam watched what was happening in surprise, but quite quickly, the picture began to change and become cloudy right before his eyes. As soon as he blinked, he instantly found himself in the same room, but returned to the city. Sam felt incredibly hopeless again about this question, and then wondered if there were ghosts in this room. In order to find out if someone's forces were watching him, he decided to activate a necromancer talent called Whisper of Darkness. The system told him that if the corpse did not respond, the soul would not rest, and Sam wondered where he could find the corpse. A few moments later, he heard a mysterious voice that thanked him and called him by name. Sam looked around, and a question was heard about who decided to address him. At this moment, the voice spoke to him and thanked him for allowing him to return to the body, and talked to him while Sam guessed that the corpse was in the closet, taking a few steps towards a locker. Sam realized with horror that this voice seemed very familiar to him. He began to slowly open the locker door, while the voice from inside said that Sam was one of the hunters, but he was killed by mistake and branded as a prey. Opening the door, he discovered the corpse of Captain Lundgren and asked him if his soul was still there. Lundgren said that it was indeed him. He had to return to his body thanks to the skill that Sam used. Sam asked him how it happened, to which he replied that the man with glasses in the photo killed him some time ago. He also stated that he is a serious specialist and needs more equipment to show his strength, while this criminal only needs to show agility to kill him. Lundgren also said that after this, the criminal took on his appearance in order to lure him to the department, in order to find some kind of answer. Sam said that some madman took his form to carry out his deeds in his name and used special techniques to take away corpses. Lundgren asked him what kind of technology it was, to which Sam stated that everything around the site instantly changed. There was only water around them, as if they were in the ocean. Lundgren laughed and said that what he described was not a technique, but a simple anomaly. He immediately said that another world suddenly comes into contact with their world surrounding, absorbing or taking away the living in a certain area. He also said that all this is called an anomaly, and what he wrote above is called a disaster. Lundgren said that a powerful being from another world, who uses different techniques to appear in the main world, can turn everything into a real hell. Lundgren asked him what he knew about this one city of Jiangnan, to which Sam replied that he had heard a legend that an earthquake had occurred there. Lundgren said that this was an explanation for ordinary people, but in reality, it was one of those disasters, and the entire city perished in an instant. Lundgren also said that they don't have much time. They need to hurry since that anomaly is just a temporary phenomenon, which means the killer will return. Lundgren advised him to immediately go to arms, but on the third floor on the silver wall to enter the password, after which he asked him to write down this password. Sam wrote down everything down to the last letter and was surprised by the incredible length of this password. Lundgren said that there was a special pen outside the armor that could be used to write parallel to the wall, after which he left his body. Sam looked in amazement at the end of the packed body of the valiant policeman who dedicated his life to the fight for justice. He also realized that it was no wonder that other police officers didn't want to take on his case, because it was too dangerous. Sam wondered if he should reveal the killer's identity, but came to the conclusion that there was no point in doing so. He also realized that with his current strength, he would not be able to avenge the captain, but in the future, he would definitely make his communication. Closing the door and letting his temporarily reposed comrade rest, he leaned his head against the metal door to control his emotions. And finally, he uttered the name of his comrade and expressed the hope that he would rest in peace and receive true reward for his valor. Anger clouded the protagonist's consciousness for a while, and he forcibly squeezed the rag on which the password to the armory was written. After some time, there was a knock on the door of the room, and the police said that an anomaly had occurred, meaning that everyone should go downstairs. After a while, the door lock clicked gently, and the door slowly opened with a characteristic creak. The police entered and said that after what happened, everyone should be checked, and they advised Sam to stop hiding. He also told his subordinates that they could go down, while he dealt with Lundgren and Sam. The police officer also said that he understood Sam's fear perfectly well, adding that the captain was taken by some inhuman force and is now safe after that. He continued walking around the room, looking around and trying to figure out where Sam was. An ominous aura immediately appeared around him, and it became obvious that this man was not who he claimed to be. He said that someone had moved the body and wondered if it was Sam's doing. A moment later, he was lifted into the air as if he weighed nothing, despite the fact that his body contained a large amount of fat. In natural poses, he ran throughout the entire office, sometimes climbing the walls to find his victim. After this, he landed on the table and said that the room had been searched, but he could not find anyone, from which he concluded that Sam had escaped. The mysterious killer said that he killed so many people, but screwed up in front of a 15-year-old kid, which is a complete failure. After leaving the room, he contacted his comrades and said that he suspected that Sam was involved in this incident, which meant that he needed to be detained. He also stated that the Central Intelligence System had completed its work, and all opponents should gather in the hall to be tested. After some time, an iron door appeared in the empty room, which Sam created to return to the real world. Opening it slightly, he said with hope that his opponent had finally left, which meant that the killers probably had accomplices. He thought that he could stay in the nightmare world forever and be safe there, but then he would lose the chance to punish the killer. Once outside, he realized that he needed to get to the 3rd floor and tell everyone everything. After a few quick jumps, he reached the open window and found himself in a small corridor. Quickly looking around, he initially realized that there was no one there and took a few steps forward to reach the weapon in the other room. He also realized that now he needed to write a special code to get inside and gain the necessary knowledge. Suddenly, a creepy voice was heard, saying that he now understood where he had heard that strange noise. From a disguise killer asked Sam what he was doing there, holding a police baton in his hands. Sam was trying to write code quickly because he had exams coming up, and the teacher left him some problems to solve quickly. The assassin quickly looked at his opponent's actions and realized that it was a fail-safe device that connected to the world's central government. He realized that he had to prevent Sam from trying to get there, and he threw the club towards him. With incredible force, Sam defended himself and summoned a metal door that took the blow and did not let the club through. The assassin rushed forward, wondering what this ability was, trying to figure out how he managed to block this attack. Sam was glad that the gate responded to environmental changes, because otherwise he would most likely be dead. The killer kicked the door with incredible speed, so that it crushed the protagonist and turned him into a bloody mess. Sam activated the disintegration skill at the last second, causing the door to lose its corporality and dissolve into thin air. The killer realized that these were his last chances, rushed forward and said that now he would definitely finish him off, since she was always there. However, at the last moment, Sam summoned the metal gate again to stop his opponent, and he crashed face first into it. The killer was stunned for a while and said that this damn brat was allowing himself too much. Sam, meanwhile, finally finished writing this strange, very long code. The alarm reported that the password check was successful, and the system scanned the police station, reporting that special operatives were being sent to the caller. The AI activated by this password also reported that the company's regional head, Cedric, had been summoned. The system also stated that in 30 seconds, it would make sure that the person posing as a police officer would be executed on the spot. But again, Sam had said that this was all nonsense. Sam tried to open the gate to escape to another world and be safe. For those 30 seconds, the killer grabbed the protagonist and asked him where he was going, adding that he would not let him escape under any circumstances. At that very moment, he aimed his fist to crush the protagonist's face and turn it into a bloody mess. However, everything ended rather quickly, as Cedric decided to arrive at the scene ahead of schedule and punish the criminal with one powerful blow. He turned the enemy's entire body into a bloody mess, leaving only a piece of his arm that was still holding on to Sam's hand. Just one blow was enough to disintegrate the human body into molecules, and it was a true demonstration of power. Cedric smiled and said that in their business, speed was the cornerstone and a skill that needed to be honed. The AI also laughed and said that only an idiot would believe that he would win. For 30 seconds, Sam thanked Cedric for his help, then demanded to tell the truth about the password, to which Sam replied that Lundgren gave him this password in advance, in case of problems. Cedric said that it seemed like Lundgren knew he was being targeted by the church in silence, assassins who had previously tried to summon the anomaly. Sam said he felt very sorry for Captain Lundgren, to which Cedric stated that he had just met him, but the boy definitely wanted justice. He also stated that Sam was incredibly lucky, as he almost fell into the hands of the killer, who was posing as Lundgren. Sam said that if this killer was able to kill the captain, then his abilities and price must be high, which means the customer is a rich man. Cedric said it was a smart assumption, then wondered why they wanted to kill Sam in the first place, to which Sam couldn't give a clear answer. Cedric said that they had yet to find out the answer to that question, but he immediately said that it was unlikely that these were any serious government bigwigs. Cedric was also wondering why the captain hadn't called for help earlier, when suddenly a woman entered the room, saying that it was all because of problems with the weapon. The girl said that she had Lundgren's prosthesis in her hands, which was considered his weapon, but a virus was recorded in the programs, which is why it turned off. The girl also stated that as soon as Lundgren died, the functionality of this weapon immediately returned to normal and was restored. The girl stated that all this was the work of a man who knew Lundgren very well. Sam was impressed by the fact that he did not give up, even despite the malfunction of his hand. Cedric stated that Sam was now an employee of his company. Today, he would teach him the first lesson that he had to learn. Cedric stated that one must always be on guard, because sometimes people behave much more terribly and scarier than any monsters. Sam sincerely stated that he would remember this wisdom and would always adhere to it in his future actions and decisions. Cedric said that in that case, they could go to his parents together to discuss something. Sam asked him what to do with the two, to which he replied that more professional people would handle it, since the place would be closed. Cedric also said that the church is a very dangerous organization, recalling cases where one guy came back from an anomaly and found himself as skin stretched over a monster. Cedric continued repeating Lundgren's name for a while, then remembered his last name and stopped for a moment. A few moments later, he would take out his phone and asked to check the connection with a girl named Asura. With Lundgren after a while, his voice became more agitated, and he said that it was all becoming more and more tragic. Sam wondered who this girl was, and knew that she was most likely connected to Captain Lundgren in some way after some time. The protagonist's parents said that they wanted to talk to their son, and he left them to smoke. Mom said she didn't want to put pressure on him by saying that he was actually from a great family, and his father was from a collateral branch. Sam guessed that the family of the former guardian of this body was not so simple and belonged to one of the few who had a divine heritage. And Artifact's mom also said that his father was also a genius, and he was the one who got away from the fire demon through training. But one day his power was lost. Father also said that the reason they were telling him all this was because his talent was already far beyond that of ordinary people. The father stated that his family's legacy would then be incalculable and unattainable if he joined the organization. He would not be able to touch the family secrets. They also said that they were giving him the right to choose and guaranteeing his full support in the event of any of these options. Sam would smile and say he wanted to join the organization, after which his mother would anxiously ask if he was sure about his decision. Sam said he didn't want them to go and humiliate themselves in front of their grandfather, adding that if his father could handle his trials, then he could too. His father said it was his life, so they respected his decision, while his mother noted that he had grown up a lot. Sam remembered that over the years, his parents had only visited that family a few times, and now he understood why. Some part of the family looked at them with cold contempt. Sam also remembered the only joyful moments of the former owner of this body, which, however, went back to deep childhood when he played with his friends. He also noted that in the past, he had become accustomed to cold and solitude, but only now did he feel sincere love, after which he signed the contract. Cedric welcomed him to the organization. In a few days, he was supposed to participate in the entrance exam of the best academy at the same time. Charlie was in the hospital and continued to spread angry gossip to harm the main character. She thought that if she wrote that the best scientist of the year failed his exams, went crazy, and the police had already intervened in this matter, then everything would be fine. She continued typing very quickly, hoping that now Sam's reputation would be tarnished, and she would remain the incredible goddess. Immediately after that, she would rise to her feet and think about how Sam would become a scumbag, and she would finally turn into that incredible abyss that could not be crossed. However, a few moments later, her phone started ringing loudly, and she decided to find out what was going on. Charlie received messages from the administration saying that the content that was posted was considered defamatory, and their website removed it. Charlie wondered what this all meant. expressing hope that the school would do something about it. However, in reality, the school principal was very happy that Sam was able to sign a contract with the organization ahead of schedule. Charlie, born in them, fell to the ground and wondered how this man could sign a contract with the organization. Why they chose him. Meanwhile, the scene shifted to the martial arts company, which Sam probably decided to choose to talk to Cedric. Cedric said that news came from the police, and it all ended in a battle in which several people died, and the survivors were rewarded. Cedric also said that he received 5 merits for killing an enemy, which can be used as currency to exchange for special items. Sam received a message from the Federation of World Government that he had made an important contribution in this battle, and therefore deserved a serious reward. Cedric said that middle school students are just laying the foundation, and high school is where they learn the real tricks of the trade. Cedric was immediately approached by several employees to talk to him about business matters, and he said goodbye to the protagonist. After some time, a beautiful girl contacted him and introduced herself as Sandy, adding that she would call him brother since she was older. She also noted that she wanted to thank him for what he does, and emphasized that her sister hopes that he will study well, improve his strength, and become even cooler. Sam looked at this girl in surprise and realized that she was an actress who was very much liked by the former owner of this body. Looking around, he realized that everything in this room, from the flowers to the bed linen, clothes and accessories, had been purchased, taking into account the preferences of the former owner. Looking around, he said that all this was done for the sake of some recruit, to increase his strength at this time. He went out to the 105th floor to look back at what was happening, and saw a stunning landscape, finding himself on top of the clouds. Sam also realized that at 12 midnight tonight, he would be immersed in the nightmare world again, to get an assessment and try to become stronger. After some time, the clock struck midnight, and the main character realized that it was time to dive into a creepy dimension. He summoned a special gift and immediately opened the door to meet his old friend, with whom he had made a contract. However, he quickly realized that something terrible had happened, as his visiting companion was scattered across the floor. Sam stood still for a moment, trying to figure out what had happened by looking around the skeleton. With despair in his eyes, turned to his interlocutor and asked him to save him from imminent death as quickly as possible. Sam asked him how he had gotten into such a state, honestly admitting that he was not a doctor and did not have the pills he had brought before. Machete began to laugh and said that he would never have suspected that he would die here, calling what was happening absurd. Sam quickly closed the door and, thinking that this guy still needed to be saved, asked him to hold on a little longer. Machete continued to wait, but time dragged on very slowly, and at a certain point, he came to the conclusion that this was definitely the end for him. However, after some time, the long-awaited door appeared in front of him, and it immediately began to open. Sam told his comrade that the door was too small, and he could not enter, after which Machete asked him what he was doing. Sam stated that to save it, he went broke and bought a huge fish VAT filled with grit, sugar, and calcium gluconate solution. Spending all his money, Machete tried to climb into the VAT, when suddenly the dark corridor he was in began to shake violently. Sam asked him what was going on here, to which he replied that humans and elves were being attacked, and a secret passage to this dimension was in the cemetery. Immediately after, he handed him a spatial ring, telling him that he needed to recover as quickly as possible so that it would not become fatal. Sam put on a special ring, and all parts of the giant Machete's body began to slowly shrink and gradually be sucked into the ring. At the last second, Sam decided to close the gate and saw a small flash, followed by a deafening roar, signaling the explosions. Sam managed to make the gate disappear and said that if a shockwave had hit him, he would have died immediately after this. He looked at the spatial ring and wondered how Machete ended up there, to which he replied that the ring could hide spirits within it. Sam said that he had long had suspicions about the identity of his comrade, and declared that he should repay him for saving him. Machete asked him what he wanted, to which the protagonist replied that he would like to enter his world, which left him puzzled. Sam asked him if he was a trophy collector, to which Machete replied that real treasure was something that could be used in combat. Sam mused that there was a graveyard beyond the secret passage, and if he could pretend to be a dead warrior, he might be able to get some recordings. Immediately after that, he asked him if he had any things from dead warriors that could hide human energy. Sam began digging through the armor debris and asked the skeleton why he was collecting junk, to which the skeleton replied that it was debris that was invulnerable to attacks on the battlefield. After a while, Sam somehow put on the equipment and found a tablet that said it summoned a skeletal horse Machete, suggested that he put on a special mask, saying that he was already radiating the energy of death. Sam asked his interlocutor and then why this was necessary, to which he replied that this mask would help stabilize methane energy at a higher level. He also stated that Sam now looks like a real undead warrior, and other undead will not be able to suspect him as a human. Sam imagined himself in this armor, and finally wondered if he could be called a spiritual knight. Immediately after this, he summoned the gate and set out into the unknown. But the skeleton told him that he must be careful. Sam replied that he would try not to die, and to ensure that the ring containing Machete did not fall into the wrong hands. Opening the door and looking around, he came to the conclusion that everything here was very destroyed. And Dead Sam continued to explore the mysterious kingdom, and said that last time he got the sword from the elves, and now it would be very useful to him. Walking further, he finally emerged from the secret passage to look around. This time he was met by a group of people who immediately drew their weapons and prepared to finish him off. The cross reported that there were undead here, which meant that they needed to be exterminated as quickly as possible. Sam immediately took off his mask and showed them his human face, explaining that he was the same as them. One of the Crusaders was not impressed by this and swung his giant sword to finish off the damned traitor, who was pretending to be a man. Sam pulled out the dagger he had gotten from the elves and blocked the attack with incredible ease, preparing to continue the fight. They looked at it in surprise, noting that it was called the Light of the Night, trying to figure out where the man had such power from. Sam himself did not understand what kind of blade it was, but the system told him that it was a special blade that belonged to people, but only 2 variants could use it. All this helped Sam to rise up, declaring that only a person with a pure soul can wield this blade, which means he is definitely not a traitor. Immediately after this, one of them showed Sam a strange gesture and asked if he needed any help. Sam tried to figure out what this gesture meant and came to the conclusion that most likely he managed to win the trust of this man. After a while, Sam noticed that the Templar kept looking at his mask and assumed that perhaps he was suspicious. Sam realized that the skeleton had set him up once again and said that he was in a rather difficult situation, but would not refuse help. The stern Crusader nodded, then stated that he would give him a combat bag. Sam extended his hand to his comrade to shake it in gratitude, to which he said it was nothing. After a while, a loud clatter of hoofs was heard in the air, and the riders ordered the others not to be stupid. The arriving officers asked the Crusaders named Lucas how much longer they could stand, noting that they did not have much time. Lucas replied that he had met this fellow here, and the officer had ordered him to seize the spy, to which he objected that this was not so. But the Kaffir did not want to listen to him. Sam asked his interlocutor who he was, why he was asking him what he was doing here, and what his mission was. The officer replied that he was the master of the palace of the Southern Legion, and that before him was just a small boy who had no sense of proportion. Sam quickly summoned a gate directly below him and called the old man a weirdo, noting that he remembered him forever. The officer ordered the others to finish him off, saying that he was going too far and must pay with his life. They launched a massive attack on the place where the main character had just stood, but all their attacks were unsuccessful. The dust raised by the powerful blows settled, and they discovered that there was no person in the place. The officer wondered where the man had disappeared to, suspecting that there was some secret passage. Lucas said he heard that some mercenaries are also taking part in this war. He also stated that these mercenaries are true masters who know how to hide in the shadows and specialize in assassinations. The officer declared that he had just angered one of them, and the arrogant nobleman realized that he had made a big mistake. Immediately after this, he commanded his subordinates to get out of here. As quickly as possible, Sam meanwhile had gotten into his room, delighted with the incredible ingenuity and dexterity he had shown. He also decided to take a breather and said that he would definitely remember this damned old man, after which he asked the skeleton what kind of setup it was. The skeleton replied that he was not all-seeing, and the system notified the protagonist about receiving another green. Quality Skill the system also reported that he had already received this rank for the second time, and if he received it again, he would be able to receive new abilities. Sam wondered how he could get this skill, and remembered that based on the descriptions in the classic situation. He needed to borrow the power of the environment. After that, he remembered that, no matter whether it was an elven village or a battlefield, with it he was always on foreign territory, and other people were constantly helping him. As he replayed these memories in his head again, he realized that this was the key to the solution. However, after some time, he realized that he had to give up this idea, since life would be much more important than running along the edge of a knife. After some time, a special bell rang in his room, and he decided to find out what happened. The voice assistant reported that a girl had come to him and introduced herself as a relative of Lundgren, adding that her identity had been confirmed. Sam realized that under no circumstances could he say that she was a relative of the man who died for him, and agreed to meet. He was told that the meeting would take place on the 50th floor, and he immediately rushed there, discovering a beautiful girl there. The girl asked him if he was the same Sam, to which he replied that she had come to the right place. The system informed Sam that the great swordswoman stood before him, while the girl introduced herself as Citra and stated that she was Lundgren's sister. Sam noted that he had met many people, but he had never met such a great person with such amazing skills. As he understood, this girl was the first one he had seen with such an assessment, and he guessed that this was the girl Cedric was talking about. Citron said that her brother found and pursued Sam, but died in battle, and now she has found the people who had a hand in breaking the weapon. The girl stated that she was very sorry that her brother met such a fate. Noting that, she finished off everyone who had a hand in breaking his weapon. Sam realized that this girl was even more dangerous than she seemed, and tried to find out how strong she really was. He said that Cedric had said that these people were quite serious opponents, but Citron, as if nothing had happened, stated that she had managed to kill them all. Citron also stated that her brother was a person with disabilities, and so she hoped that after graduation he would find a job, a wife, and continue the family line. Sam noted that Lundgren was a genius, and tried to understand why she thought he was a person with limited abilities. Citron said that her brother was vilely killed, tied up and hidden in a closet, adding that if others can be offended, then she could take revenge on her brother for it. Sam looked at his interlocutor in surprise, and asked if she would get into trouble by killing people left and right. Citron replied with a smile that Sam had never lived in a real critical family, so he didn't understand how important it was to uphold his family's honor. Citron also said that she asked questions to the killer, but he didn't even know that he had killed a member of a high-rank family. But after his death, Sveta burst in. Citron admitted that she came here to find out who wanted to kill Sam, and asked if he had any leads. Sam said he had no leads, trying to find out if she had any desire to stop her revenge, since she had already avenged her brother. Citron said that she was not finished yet, and had to destroy the customers. Not just kill them, since they were guilty of killing her brother. Having made a quick magical cut, and thus greatly impressed the protagonist, she decided to get down to business, instantly cutting through the clouds. She said that after her revenge, she hoped that her soul would finally find peace. Sam wondered how this girl could achieve this, without even drawing her sword. Citron asked the protagonist to think carefully, whether he remembered anything special, after which she stated that he should investigate this case. She would always help him. Sam said that his family did not keep in touch with other families, and therefore he has no connection with other clans. Sam also said that while he was in the hospital, he heard strange sounds, suggesting that someone might have been eavesdropping on him. Citron enthusiastically said that she needed more details, and then left stating that she would contact someone soon. Suddenly, out of nowhere, Cedric said that this girl was simply an amazing swordswoman, and that was why he specifically asked her about her intentions. Cedric stated that she was the most outstanding heiress of her family's generation, and even among the great clans, she could be called an outstanding individual. Cedric said that she was the same age as Sam, adding that children of powerful families usually had a lot of secrets, and Sam was glad that she was on his side. Once in his room, Sam fell into despair, realizing that now he was not surprised that the descendants of noble families were so strong, which meant he was finished. He thought about how he needed to learn a few attacking moves as soon as possible, since it wasn't every time that such a swordsman would stand up for him. Sam asked the skeleton if he had any skill enhancing crystals. Machete replied that he only had undead skills, but they were unlikely to suit him. adding that the moon deer skill was a chance find. Sam wondered if he would only learn attacking moves once he enrolled, thinking that he couldn't wait that long. After that, he turned his gaze to the backpack and realized that he had not had time to examine it and find out what was inside, having started to quickly rummage through it. He said that there was nothing necessary in the backpack, only dry rations and some first aid kits. However, after some time, he found a nightmare crystal inside and realized that this was exactly what he had been looking for. All this time, quickly crushing it with his hand, he expressed hope that he would come across some good skill. The system notified him that he had received information that, if he saw a tent with 3 daggers, he could come up and accept the quest. Sam was upset that he did not get anything he needed, but he thought about going to another world again and looking for something interesting. Sam asked Machete where he found the armor he gave him, and if he had any human equipment. The skeleton began to rummage through his supplies and said that he would now pretend to be a soldier. Guarding the border, Sam asked him why a crystal appeared in his hand, to which the skeleton replied that it was a request for help from the master and a symbol of faith that would be useful to him. Sam asked him why he cared so much about him, to which the skeleton replied that he saved him, and repaying kindness is an important part of these contracts. Machete said he also wanted to help him achieve a certain position, so he could buy materials that would help him recover. After some time, Sam completed his journey through the world of nightmares and was transported to a parallel world. Looking around, he saw a huge battlefield on which there were still a large number of bodies. One of the soldiers turned to his comrades and said that he had found another person who needed help. They pulled the soldier out and told him that he should hold out, stating that the main camp was nearby. Sam looked around and realized that he couldn't act rashly, because if he was discovered before he knew everything, it would be bad. He also realized that there were quite a few corpses here that needed to be used to find out some information. Even while exploring the battlefield, he suddenly came across a huge, giant, undead creature and activated the Whisper of Darkness to talk to it. Leaning closer to her, he asked the giant if he knew anything about this armor he had shown her. The undead replied that she knew nothing about this mask, after which Sam decided to go elsewhere. He approached the other corpses one by one and asked each of them if they had seen such armor, but always received a negative answer. After some time, he finally sat down and realized that he still had not found the answer to his question. He admitted that he was very tired and realized that looking for answers was like looking for a needle in a haystack. After some time, he discovered a corpse next to him, deciding to find out from him in the hope of luck. Taking a closer look, he realized who was lying there with him. The corpse of a werewolf who was dressed in serious armor. Remembering that dogs usually have a very good sense of smell, he asked if this dog had seen such armor or smelled a similar smell. The undead speak of seeing this armor, which belonged to a man who had one arm severed. Sam approaches the severed arm and decides to use a spell, asking the limb if it is still there. Of course, the hand starts moving and then makes some pretty strange gestures that Sam has never seen before. Sam happily says that it is the signature mark of a shadow hand and is glad that he was not mistaken. He asks the hand if it can tell where the person who did this was, with irony, after which the hand points in the right direction. Looking up in that direction, Sam discovers a boot lying in a pool of blood. Sam picks up the boot and admits that he has never smelled such a foul stench before, discovering that there is something inside. After some time, he takes out a note and some trinket from there, and the system notifies him that he has unlocked the auxiliary knowledge ability. Thanks to this ability, Sam gained the ability to see the description of objects, after which the trinket began to be called the Dark Shadow Emblem. According to the description, it is necessary to activate some special weapon, and Sam decides to test his guess and practice. After a moment, he takes out his blade, and the emblem begins to interact with the weapon that is in his hand. The system notifies him that he has just leveled up an item, transforming it into something called a veil. Now Sam has a weapon that fluctuates in power and performs various tasks for shadow forces, corresponding to the reward. Sam also reads a note that says they can trade information about the undead or rewards. Sam remembers that the crystal Lucas gave him says that the tent with the 3 daggers is where the shadow hand is found. Sam realizes that this will be a very easy task and raises one of the corpses, deciding that this will be his job with the undead. Unfortunately, the ordinary soldiers who rise from the dead can only fight and have no knowledge. Sam, upset, looks around and realizes that he is now in for a lot of trouble. Machete comes to his aid saying that he can share with him any information about the undead. Sam asks him if he is confident in his actions, since it concerns his clan, which may be under threat. Machete laughs and says that the undead belong to his clan, but he holds a grudge against them. Sam recalls that, judging by the behavior of his former partners in the Elven kingdom, this skeleton really didn't live very well among his own. Sam says he wants some normal information, without any supernatural details. Machete shares information that they use new components to improve the guns, and Sam wonders if that's too valuable. Machete says that the higher Templars already know. They just tell the others, and Sam decides to go to the camp to get the reward. Looking around, he notices a fire and realizes that this is where the camp is set up, which means he needs to go there to find the Shadow Hand. Machete suggests that the protagonist pretend to be wounded so that he can be taken to the camp for free. Sam asks the skeleton how things are with field medicine, to which Machete replies that human medical care is far superior, even to that of the elves. Sam asks him how he effectively cures the undead, to which Machete replies that they usually force those who are nearly dead to commit suicide. Machete also states that this requires special spells that require the sacrifice of other people, making it too expensive. Sam says that unfortunately he has no money, but Machete says that he does have money. Sam approaches the huge giant and realizes that he has a great idea for hurting himself. After a moment, he decides to increase his strength stats to lift the giant. Machete asks the protagonist what he is trying to do, to which Sam says that he must trust. A moment later, the giant's falling path crushes him to the ground. Breaking several bones, Sam begins to scream very loudly, and blood begins to flow from his mouth due to damage to his internal organs. Machete asks him why it's so complicated, to which the protagonist replies that this is his method of great acting. Immediately after this, he takes out a stone and starts knocking on the metal shield to attract the attention of ordinary people. The soldiers hear loud screams and say that there is someone there, which means they need to help him as quickly as possible. Taking a quick look around, they spot a giant hammer and rush over to pull it out. After some time, the scene moves to a human camp, where the main character is transferred in order to be completely healed. The girl, who is here as a healer, reads a prayer to fully restore Sam's body. The young man feels how all the broken bones are gradually restored, and his blood pressure returns to normal. With each passing second, his breathing becomes more and more even, which means his recovery is complete. After some time, the healer turns to the arriving prince and says that she is finished healing, and that soon this man will feel better. Sam slowly gets up, but the nobleman stops him and tells him that he is safe now in the human camp. Sam asks him who he is, to which the nobleman replies that his name is Prince Norton, and Sam is apparently one of the Lords of Lane's men. Sam hands him the crystal and tells him that Lane has been captured by the undead, and asks him to come to his aid as soon as possible, as there is a message in the crystal. A nearby magician takes this artifact and begins to read a strange spell in a language no one understands. A moment later, a message bursts out of the crystal, stating that 300 gold coins must be paid to save the land plots. The magician said that it was indeed the voice of the master, which meant that everything was in perfect order with the crystal. Prince Norton looked at the protagonist and said that they fought on the same side, but Lane was completely defeated. He also stated that the undead had taken over absolutely everything, meaning that Sam was the only survivor. Sam continued to pretend he cared and said sadly that he couldn't believe it. Prince Norton noted that this child had gone through a great number of difficulties on his way and was even able to survive under the giant stone hammer. The prince said that tomorrow he would arrange for him to move to the Empire's Tail, where he could find a safe place to live. Sam realized that this option was not suitable for him and thanked Prince Norton, after which he said that he would like to stay here accordingly. He asked him what was the reason for such determination, to which Sam replied that he wanted to avenge everyone and would not let this chance pass by without a reason. People who observed him, including high-ranking officials, were impressed by his zeal. The starter said that he did not expect to see such a young and brave man, and therefore the Lord of Lane did not choose him for no reason. Sam got to his feet and said that he had already recovered and was running faster than all his peers in the area and was simultaneously developing his agility. Once outside, he asked everyone else to watch him run and prepare to make a quick start. A few moments later, he exploded from the spot like the wind, surprising all the other soldiers who were watching. After making a small semicircle He immediately turned around to return back to the tent. At incredible speed, immediately after that, he braked with his feet, so as not to crash into the people who had been watching him, the whole time trying to catch his breath. He asked the others if he could stay in this camp, after what he had demonstrated. Prince Norton said he had never seen a man so fast, and his other companions agreed with his decision. Suddenly, a high-ranking elf approached the protagonist and asked him where he got the bracelet on his hand from. He found a strange flower wrapped around his wrist, but he claimed that it was a gift from an elf named Lonnie. A high-ranking elf decided to cast a spell to interact with this bracelet. After some time, the same Lonnie got in touch and asked who had contacted her. The elf said that the Grand Master of the royal court was contacting her. Lonnie asked how her bracelet ended up on the human boy's hand, and the girl immediately became more cheerful, asking when he would visit them again. The Magister continued to press his point, trying to get an answer to the question, and Lonnie replied that the boy had helped expose the undead conspiracy. Lonnie also stated that the High Priestess was looking for this person, and the Master of Magic immediately replied that he would contact her later. Immediately after this, she turned to Prince Norton and said that this child was so young and agile, and had survived many hardships and remained alive. He replied that he was very glad to hear this, since elves rarely valued people so highly. Immediately after this, the prince approached the main character and asked him what his name was. Sam realized that it was much easier to pretend that he had lost his memory. A few moments later, he felt his knees and said that his head hurt incredibly badly, and he could not remember anything. A nearby magician said that it must have been caused by a concussion. In memory loss, Prince Norton put his hand on Sam's shoulder and said that it was no big deal, and that he should get some rest. He also stated that they would definitely meet again. Calling Sam a guy who has experienced many hardships, the system notified him that he had increased his reputation, and that he had a chance of receiving a new entry. Sam had earned the title of Boy Who Survived Adversity, and wondered if that title could ever be erased. The system told him that the nickname could be removed by becoming a hermit and having people forget about it over time, or by doing things that contradicted the title. Sam was glad that he would soon be able to calm down and get rid of this title without saying goodbye to the wars. After this, he turned to the skeleton and asked him why the phrases spoken by this prince affected him so strongly, and received the answer that it was a matter of status. The old mage said that this boy was very interested, and the Elven master asked him what interesting thing he had noticed. The magician said that this boy believed very much in the hand of the shadow, and not always at such a young age are people so faithful. Prince Norton said he had also noticed the night curtain, adding that only high-ranking people had such things. Meanwhile, Sam continued to explore the camp, and finally found a tent with 3 balls painted on it. Once inside, he greeted the man who was in charge of the warehouse. However, the man continued to act as if he had not even heard Sam. Approaching him, Sam smiled, then made his characteristic gestures, and said that the shadow would come with them. The acquaintance responded with a similar gesture, and asked what news he had managed to find. Sam tossed the consciousness crystal to the stranger, and said that everyone must have noticed that the battle was fierce. Sam asked the merchant what interesting things he had to trade for this thing, to which he replied that he had several interesting items. With these words, he laid the dagger on the table, and said that it was covered with a special poison that acted almost instantly. Sam looked at the dagger carefully, and asked him if he had anything else to sell. The merchant quickly took out a small whistle and blew into it to summon the mysterious pet. Almost out of nowhere, a very powerful stallion materialized, ready to develop enormous speeds in a short time. However, a few moments later, when the better frozen knife fell, the merchant said that it was a horse that could pretend to be a corpse if you looked into its eyes. Sam asked the merchant if the dagger and horse came with the set, to which he replied that it did. But Sam asked again if there was anything better. The merchant said that he also had glasses that could penetrate light. According to the description of this item, the wearer can see money and other valuables on a person's body. Even through clothing, Sam decided to give up on all of this, and asked him later if he had any nightmare crystals in his possession, as he wanted to learn the skill. The stranger reported that supplies were limited, and there was only a basic level of bloodletting that allowed the enemy to bleed to death. After that, he laid out the second and final crystal, stating that it was the outline of an attack technique that could push back enemies and weapons. Sam, realizing that he needed both crystals, suddenly heard the same voice that said that he needed to choose the storm skill. Sam realized that it was the same voice that had previously given him directions and given him short dreams of light at night. Sam asked the voice why he should choose the storm skill, and the voice replied that it was a technique from another world, from the perspective of the mysterious entity. He needed to figure out how to obtain the technique of the shadow, of the times and the undead, the layout of thunder. Sam learned that if he gained the necessary skills, he could unlock the true secret, and told the merchant that he chose the storm skill. He took the crystal in his hands, and it began to squeeze his powers to stroke the stage. Within moments, a huge number of techniques had been implanted into his head, and all the muscles in his body had become more trained. The merchant said that the storm was just a basic technique, and that the reward for his information was worth more. But Sam said that he was fine with the deal. The merchant handed him a piece of gold to make up the difference in gold, and Sam accepted the gift to express his gratitude. Once outside, he asked the skeleton if he could obtain the skills of the undead race, to which Machete stated that such skills required the soul to have fire. Sam said he needed a shadow skill, and Machete gave him one, warning him of the high cost of the spirit glasses. Sam reflected that he currently had about 7 stat points, 3 of which he put into spiritual power, and the remaining 4 into agility. Immediately after that, he walked away thinking that he needed to find a quiet, deserted place so that no one would notice him. Finding himself in a deserted place, he looked around to make sure no one was following him. Immediately after that, he decided to use the shadow technique skill and created a large shadow clone that rushed far away. After some time, the shadow began to disappear into the air rather quickly, without changing the surroundings. Sam thought the technique looked scary, but there were no other advantages to it. But Machete just laughed at him. Sam thought about how he already had the Moonlight Deer skill, and now all he had to do was get the Thunderclap skill. After some time, a mysterious soldier appeared on his path and said that she had finally found a boy who had survived adversity. She handed him the box and informed him that because of his brave act, the king had personally decided to award him a badge of bravery. Sam accepted the gift and thanked his majesty, declaring that he would strive for the good of the kingdom. Sam, listening to the soldier's gratitude, thought about how he could now use the gold he had received in his world to help his family with these words. He turned in the other direction and realized that the journey to another world was over. It was time to return home. After some time, the action moved to the real world, and Sam found himself in his mansion where he now lived. The system assistant informed the protagonist that the gold had been exchanged for 65,444 yuan and transferred to the specified account. Sam thanked the system assistant and then opened the door to get some fresh air. Sam's parents immediately called him and asked why he had transferred so much money, to which he replied that it was the subsidy he had received after admission. Finally, he ended the conversation with his parents by saying that he was fine and decided to check social media. He quickly discovered that Charlie was trying to apologize to him, saying that it was all her fault, and suggested going to a movie to talk. Sam, realizing that this person simply could not be sincere, decided to somehow get rid of her in order not to be under any illusions. He immediately replied that she would never reach his level and should live in another life. Sometime later, he also received a message from Hank, who congratulated him on signing the contract and asked if he wanted to celebrate. Sam thought about the fact that he was now in the crosshairs of a killer and suddenly realized that participating in the events was very dangerous. Sam realized that the original owner of this body was already dead, but the friendship between him and Hank was still not broken. Hank also asked the protagonist if he could say that this was his main dream in life. Sam realized that this was a great option because it was very safe. They could satisfy Hank's curiosity and have a good time. After a while, he went down to the cold side to find his friend, who should have arrived by now. However, the atmosphere in this room was quite tense, and Sam immediately felt it. He looked at every person who was here and felt the threat coming from all of them. He reflected that these were people who had qualifications, and their energy was significantly different from everyone else. Suddenly, one of the fighters realized that they had been looked at the whole time and turned towards the main character, taking a few short steps. He found himself right next to Sam and asked if he was new. Sam asked him if he had disturbed them with his gaze, but the giant turned out to be a kind man and said that there was nothing wrong with it. He also said that he looked at his elders with the same look, and Sam asked him if he wanted to become as powerful. The giant immediately changed his expression and said that in fact, he wanted to tear to pieces every elder who was stronger than him. Sam mused that this was a professional in his field, with a stunning power as well as pressure that subdued everyone else. After some time, another girl approached this giant, who immediately made him change his expression and calm down. The giant approached a girl named Vina and asked her if she would like to have dinner together and also have a good time. Vina immediately pulled out a gun and pointed it at the giant's face, saying that if he continued to pursue her, she would rip off his skin. The giant fell away, and she turned to Sam, saying that a certain Hank should not have come in here at all, introducing him to his classmates. Vina stepped aside and said that she would let him in now, but Sam said that he could meet him himself, and there was no need to waste time on it. Vina called Sam little brother and said that she couldn't allow this to happen because Cedric had given instructions that it could be dangerous here. Now she also said that their first priority was to protect such a promising cadet. And Sam smiled, not hiding his embarrassment. Hank looked around and said that this building was simply luxurious, and he did not have enough eyes to take it all in. Sam said that Hank could come here anytime in the future, while Hank told him how he had turned the whole school upside down. After that incident, Sam said he would rather not discuss the topic, suggesting they go to the dining room. Hank said he was not hungry and would like to be together. Where he lived, Sam pressed the elevator button, and a huge number of high-level cadets appeared in front of him. Getting into the elevator, he pressed the 105th floor. And Hank said he didn't expect to live that high up. As soon as the elevator doors closed, Sam received a strange notification on his phone and decided to look into it. Citra informed him that when he was subjected to an anomalous attack in the hospital, a nurse saw everything but then disappeared, and also that now she found a corpse with a disfigured face. Citron also said that she found something interesting and sent him a video recording from his hospital. Sam pressed the button and found that the cameras had captured a man whose silhouette was very familiar to him. This man walked along the corridors and looked around, as if he was very nervously, looking for something specific, in search of something specific. He walked around almost the entire school, looking around here and there. Citron reported that she had checked the people around him again, to see who that person might be. After some time, Sam realized with horror that these photographs depicted none other than his friend Hank. Citron stated that the man had been acting very strange at school yesterday morning, as if he was looking for something, and Sam assumed that he just wanted to see him. Meanwhile, Hank, who had been watching what was happening, slowly turned towards him, feeling a gaze on the back of his head. After that, he smiled and asked him what happened, trying to figure out why he was looking at him so suspiciously. They finally arrived at the 105th floor, and Hank said he had never been that high. Hank hurried the protagonist, saying that he couldn't wait until they finally got to his apartment. After taking a few steps, he stopped and said that he was really looking right at the place where his best friend lived. Immediately after that, he turned around with lightning speed to use a mysterious spell on his unsuspecting friend. A moment later, Sam received a mysterious projectile right in the head, which was sent straight at him at great speed. These projectiles turned out to be magical pens that are so dangerous that they can rival some knives. However, it quickly turned out that it was all a trap. Sam was not harmed, having deceived his opponent. Hank wondered what kind of technique it was, saying that it was unlikely that a simple schoolboy would have such powerful techniques. Moments later, the man, pretending to be Hank, received a powerful blow to the face from the protagonist. This blow was so powerful that the enemy flew several meters to the side, unable to stay on his feet. The system informed Sam that he had distributed his stat points, and now he had 3 types of abilities available to him at once. Sam asked his opponent where his best friend, whose appearance he had just assumed was the killer, began to laugh, and said that the real Hank had been dead for a long time, and was preparing to continue the fight. Tearing off his mask, he said that Sam would soon join him in the afterlife. Sam took a special stance to perform a powerful counterattack, and raised his leg up a moment later. He stopped his opponent with a powerful kick, but their fight did not end there. The killer laughed and said that he could cope with such pathetic attempts, even with one hand. However, after a few moments, the incredible power gained from the storm skill entered Sam's body, and he delivered a powerful blow. This blow again threw the killer back, depriving him of the initiative, which is why he was again forced to defend himself from his opponent. Sam quickly took out his pistols and thought about how he didn't expect that these low-level skills could be combined to create a new ability without thinking twice. He opened fire on his opponent, but he began to quickly dodge as if he were out of reach. Once the magazine ran out of bullets, the killer approached Sam and said that his skill with a firearm left much to be desired. A few moments later, an alarm sounded, and the alarm signaled that all professional fighters were to go to the scene. Immediately, Sam said he shot at his opponent not to hit him, but to call for help before the killer could even comprehend anything. His arms and legs were blown off by powerful shots. Vina wondered how that damn bastard had managed to sneak her in and get here unnoticed immediately after this. She lifted the unfortunate wretch above the ground and ordered him to tell her his purpose and the reason why he wanted to kill Sam. The killer stated that he would not say anything, and no amount of torture would force him to share this information. Immediately after this, he disassembled the poison capsule hidden in his mouth, thereby killing himself almost instantly. Venus said that she had never seen anyone with such a high-quality disguise, capable of deceiving not only the security system, but her as well. Meanwhile, Sam realized that he had to make every effort to never anger this woman. After some time, the technical department informed Van that this man was a killer with excellent skills. Vina knew she had nothing to confirm the identity of this man and was powerless to do anything about it. Citra tried to cheer her up by saying that the killer's skin handling skills were so good that the security system couldn't detect it. Sam said that everyone else could go, but he wanted to be alone with this corpse to come to his senses. Cedric agreed to this proposal, thinking that this child sensed death very well. Perhaps he could feel something. Left alone with the corpse, Sam decided to use the Dark Whisper skill to raise the undead and ask it a few questions. The creature immediately rose up on its hands and wondered if Sam could communicate with the dead. The undead also laughed, saying that it was useless, since she would not tell him anything under any circumstances. Machete mused that he had never seen a corpse react to a dark experience skill, and Sam asked what would happen if the bastard didn't talk. Machete laughed, saying he had no idea, but the show promises to be interesting, taking the main character into an unknown dimension. The killer tried to look around, asking questions about what was going on here, when suddenly the wall he was nailed to began to move. A huge number of hands grabbed him to douse him with incredible heat, burning his entire body immediately after that. He found himself engulfed in flames, and Sam took a few steps back to avoid getting burned. After some time, all that was left of the killer was a pitiful skeleton, which was about to crumble from the slightest pressure of the breeze. However, after some time, some unknown force restored the flesh on this dead man, forcing him to experience all these pains and sensations an infinite number of times, once again assembled into a single human form of flesh and blood. The killer looked around constantly, trying to understand what was happening to him. A few moments later, another fiery explosion occurred, which began to torment him again and again. Machete said that anyone who refuses to speak will be doomed to eternal suffering, as well as all possible forms of torture, until the living person reveals the secret. After some time, the killer said that he would tell absolutely everything he knew, just to stop this torment. Sam returned to the real dimension, and the killer was preparing to share the information. Sam immediately turned on his phone to get the video record, and then review it in case there was something important there. Looking at the killer, he said that he must tell everything he knew about the incident, from beginning to end. The scene moved to the roof of the girls' dormitory, where Charlie was. An unknown person asked Charlie how things were going, and the girls stated that she had done everything according to his instructions. Charlie's interlocutor said that she should go to the hotel and be there at 7 o'clock in the evening, and not even think about being late. After some time, she received a call, and was informed that she had received a quota to enter the most famous high school. Charlie guessed that the mysterious patron was to blame for everything, after which she thanked him, declaring that she would come there without being late. Suddenly, Citra was behind her, demanding to hand over the phone and wondering who she was talking to. Charlie turned towards her in fear and said that she was not going to give her the phone, and also asked why she had snuck up here. Citra looked at her interlocutor attentively, after which she made a slight movement with her hand and pulled out her weapon. In an instant, her sword was only a few centimeters from Charlie's neck. Citra said she knew full well that Charlie was most proud of his face, not his accomplishments, and threatened to cut off his nose if she refused to talk. Charlie threw the phone at her and said that she didn't care who was standing in front of her, and that she would definitely get her arrested. Citra contacted Sam and asked him if there was any news, to which he replied that he had caught and was interrogating the killer. Citra asked him what the killer had said, while Charlie listened to their conversation in surprise, trying to figure out how Sam was involved. Sam ordered the undead assassin to continue his story, and the undead said that they were assassins from the Assassins Association. The creature said that the purpose of the mission was to kill Sam, but it had to be done in such a way that it would appear that he died in an accident. The killer also said that everything should have gone smoothly initially, but now they needed not only to kill him, but also to find out why their method had not worked. Sam asked the killer where they put Hank's body, to which Citra replied that she found it in the school sewers. Sam felt anger welling up inside him, and he gripped his phone tightly, causing the screen to slowly crack. After this, he turned to the undead, asking who was their customer. Some time passed, but the undead could not remember who exactly was the customer. After a couple of additional questions, the undead stated that only the person in charge of the mission knew all the information about it. Sam asked where the man in charge of this mission was. The undead replied that this man was called the Flayer, and he was a very famous killer in the underworld. She also added that the man went to the maple forest near the western suburbs because the girl he was going to kill was there as a nurse. The undead said that this man was very powerful, and his status and position did not allow him to personally kill Sam. Sam was surprised and asked if this creature had any special features. The undead replied that this man had one unique habit. After a short pause, she said that this man really liked to devour the people he killed. Citra immediately said that she would go meet this leather voter, and hung up. The undead laughed and stated that she knew nothing about this girl, but if Citra was looking for skin, she would have a hard time because he loved to eat women. Sam began to wonder loudly, and then delivered a powerful blow right to the face to shut the undead up. Having received incredible damage, the undead threw themselves to the side, scattering their teeth across the floor and splattering blood. Sam broke the spell and said that the undead should not answer questions that were not asked. Meanwhile, the scene moved to a 5-star hotel in a maple forest, which became more and more sinister with every minute spent in. In one of the rooms sat a man who was chewing an undercooked piece of meat with a huge amount of blood. As he got closer, it became clear that there was a girl sitting right in front of him, who, however, did not react to his actions in any way. The man said that the meat had a dense but not mouth-watering taste, and then apologized to the girl for the time spent preparing. With these words, he took the drink and tasted it thoroughly, but it was unclear whether it was wine or blood. The strange-looking man said that this drink has a rich, thick, soft, and delicate taste, with an impeccable balance of sweetness and acidity. He added that he had not tasted such a high-quality delicacy for a long time, despite the fact that the girl, as it turned out, had long been dead. The man said that in gratitude for this, he would thoroughly enjoy himself, and yet after a while his phone began to ring. He apologized and wiped his mouth with a napkin, saying that there were always impolite servants who lived by their dinners. This man was contacted by a mysterious caller who had just spoken to Charlie, and said that he was now handing him the target for destruction. The cannibal replied that he could fulfill the conditions, but required payment. The mysterious caller said that he would give him a girl. Immediately after this, the subscriber sent him photographs of Charlie, who had a very impressive appearance and delicate facial features. Watching this, cannibal immediately lost his composure, and a look of embarrassment appeared on his face. The heartbeat of this real maniac increased significantly, and he leaned back in his chair, declaring that in front of him was a beautiful, innocent lamb looking at the photograph. He said that when he looked at her, he could feel a foaming aroma on her body. Immediately after that, he received information that the girl would arrive for a meeting at 8 p.m., and Cannibal said that there was not much time left. As he quickly undressed, he realized that this perfume was not suitable, and he needed to take a shower, change his tie, and brush his teeth to experience the real taste. After a while, he froze in place and turned towards the girl he had been devouring some time ago. He said that he almost forgot the most important thing, hinting that his incredible love for this object is forever. He held up his operating hand, for which a large number of threads emerged, while saying that their relationship was over, having torn the woman into little pieces. He said that he could not allow himself to upset his new dear guest. Sam entered the garage, and the assistant system informed him that his fingerprints were coming in, and asked him to say a phrase that would be a unique call. Sam uttered a phrase that in just 10 steps, a person could lose his life, and an amazing vehicle began to materialize in the air. As soon as the energy sphere split in the air, an expensive motorcycle appeared before his eyes. Cedric saying that if he had a motorcycle like that, when he was older, he would have been able to meet a lot of people. Cedric said that this motorcycle is a unique vehicle that can fly for as long as 30 minutes. Sam sat on it and said that if this motorcycle was red, it would look even cooler, like a bright flame hearing the protagonist's wish. The motorcycle suddenly began to change its color and turned bright red. Sam said it was really cool, and he would also like to learn some ball handling techniques. Cedric said it appeared the bike was given to him to help him understand the danger he was in. Cedric also said that even if the higher organization knows his situation, they will not interfere in such trivial matters, as they have more important problems. Sam realized that if a person had no value, no one would care whether he was alive or dead, and then wondered how Citron was doing. Cedric advised him to relax in the company that evening, not to go anywhere, and to go to the exam site the following morning. Meanwhile, Citron approached the hotel where the skin voter was staying, for some reason dragging Charlie along with her. She looked around carefully in search of sources of danger, but did not find a single living soul. Charlie thought about finally bringing her here, and wondered how the man who had set up a date with her in this place would react. Citron thought that this place had a stunning, intense, murderous aura that was hidden so well that it was almost not felt. Citron asked Charlie if this man really promised to help her, improve her results, and allow her to enter a prestigious school. Charlie said that in exchange for this, she had to lead her classmates against Sam no matter what. Citron thought that in front of her was just an ordinary girl from a poor family who exchanged everything Sam had done for her for a deal that could bring benefits. Citron said she was giving Charlie the option of hiding nearby and waiting for her to finish, and then coming out as a witness, or going to the hotel without saying anything. Charlie, without thinking twice, went straight to the hotel, remaining incredibly confident that a brilliant future awaited her. Citron closed her eyes in disappointment, still not warning the girl of the incredible danger that awaited her. After that, she slowly drew her sword from its sheath and prepared to ambush her enemy. After a while, a strange-looking butler opened the doors, so Charlie could finally meet this cannibal. The skin voter immediately turned around. An incredible enthusiasm began to be felt in his voice and look. He said that he had finally met her, declaring that she was the most beautiful girl he had ever met. He gave her a flower and said that he was ready to recommend her for admission to the best university, while Charlie confused him with her patron. Charlie asked him what she should do about Sam now, but the cannibal told her not to worry about it. They walked a few more meters, and an aggressive gust of wind, which was also quite cold, burst into the room. Charlie snuggled closer to the cannibal and said that she felt very cold. The cannibal stood still for a moment, taking a good look at his future. After that, he covered her with his jacket, thinking about the fact that there was a very powerful energy coming from the blade directed at him. He realized that someone was hunting him, and that he needed to speed up the process. After which, he began to appease the girl and promise her mountains of gold. Continuing to talk with Charlie, he said that he could recommend her to 3 top universities and asked her what she thought about it. Charlie thought wistfully about how she couldn't even dream of such a future. As an ordinary girl from an ordinary family, the naive girl asked if this was true, to which he stated that he had made a huge contribution to archaeology. He also said that he could give her admission to an amazing university and also help her become much stronger. Charlie took out her phone and received a notification that she had qualified for the entrance exam at the top 3 universities. She also threw herself into the arms of the cannibal, saying that she was very grateful to him for what he had done for her. The cannibal asked her if she was happy right now, and the girl sincerely answered him that she had never been so happy. The cannibal's eyes widened as he realized that the time for harvest had come. A few moments later, with one easy movement, he tore off the head of the unfortunate Charlie, and she didn't even have time to understand anything. Immediately after this, the sick maniac kissed the girl, thinking that he had finally gotten what he wanted. Immediately after that, He said that he was also incredibly happy for her, creating a huge number of red threads that rushed to his head. After a few moments, he reunited the head with the body and said that they had made this incredible art together, which was called a magnificent masterpiece, hanging in the air in the corpse of a girl. He said that as soon as he looked at her, he was ready to cry with happiness. He also spoke about how he was looking forward to tasting her flower, when suddenly an unknown energy began to cut through him. A second later, a powerful explosion ripped through the hotel, destroying walls and throwing back anyone in the immediate vicinity. Citrin entered the room, looking around and trying to figure out if Charlie, who hadn't moved, was okay. To her regret, she realized that she had been too slow and thought that if she had the will of the blade, this maniac would be more restrained. However, after a few seconds, a huge amount of red threads burst out of the smoke, and the cannibal became incredibly angry. He ordered Citrin not to touch this gentle girl, declaring that she belonged to him and only him. Citrin realized the basic nature of her opponent and immediately drew her sword, but not to strike him in an instant. That sword was right next to the head of Charlie's lifeless body. The cannibal stopped in his tracks and told her to stop, stating that he would do anything she asked to do, so she would not touch her. Citrin ordered the cannibal to stand still, threatening that otherwise she would immediately dispose of the corpse, and then asked him who his superior was. The cannibal suddenly became more serious and said that it would no longer be possible to get rid of the threads that surrounded her, and she was in a losing position. He stated that Citrin must immediately return Charlie to him, in which case he would free her and allow her to leave here. Citrin activated the true power of her blade and said that, in that case, she could try something else. Citrin said she would be happy to see which of the two could withstand the impact of her ball. The cannibal became even more irritated, but after a few moments, genuine despair appeared on his face. He fell to his knees and wondered if they were already forced to part with such a beautiful creature as Charlie, whom he had not even had a chance to taste. After a while, a strange figure appeared behind him, as Cannibal said that he didn't care about this Charlie, and he would taste Citrin. However, after some time, he said that it was all a lie, and Charlie had the perfect appearance and figure. Bipolar disorder continued to progress very actively in it. He said that he felt very bad and would eat them. Citrin cut some red threads and said that in this case, they could make a good deal. The cannibal froze in midair, seeing her intentions, to which Citrin said that if he told her who was behind it, she would return to Charlie and fight him. The cannibal said that even if the deal didn't go through, he could get her body by killing her. Citrin asked the cannibal if he could feel her power, stating that he might be able to defeat her, but she added that it was not a given, that he would be able to leave him unharmed. She also said that even if she loses, she will not rely on her family strength and allow other people to take revenge for it. The cannibal gradually calmed down and asked her if she was telling the truth. Citrin continued to look at her opponent with incredible composure and said that she never lies about such things. The flayer stated that the evening had been nothing but a headache and that he would face persecution from the League of Assassins in the future. Citrin looked at her opponent and asked if he felt fear from this. The cannibal said that it was simply impossible, adding that for her sake, he was ready to make such a sacrifice. Citrin cut off the cannibal's attempts to flirt with her, stating that her blade would cut him almost instantly if he got too carried away. The cannibal said that the moment he spoke the puppeteer's name, their feelings would begin to fade, and before that happened, he would send Charlie to safety. Sam, meanwhile, looked around because his worries made him walk from side to side. He wondered how things were going with Citrin, noting that he couldn't get through to her. Sam asked the skeleton if Citrin stood a chance against this opponent, but Machete said he wouldn't like the truthful answer. Machete said that Citrin couldn't handle this enemy, and Sam could kill even more people if he interfered. Sam sternly said that his comrade was right. Citrin was in danger, but Machete suggested that he not worry about it and go to bed. Sam reflected on how he had initially wanted to rely on Citra to find out the truth, but he had ended up dragging her into danger, and now her brother was dead. Sam wondered how many more people had to die, knowing that Citrin was the only one working for this cause. A moment later, he received a notification on his phone that an unknown number was calling him. Sam quickly picked up the phone and asked who he was talking to, and in response, he heard a strange child's voice. The girl said her mother told her that if she couldn't contact her, she should find him and also contact the police. Sam asked her who she was, To which the girl replied that her mother was a nurse who had seen him encounter ghosts. The girl continued her story, saying that her mother said that she would go to the mausoleum in the west, but there was still no news from her. Sam ordered the girl to wait for him in the cafe and contact the police, after which he took the motorcycle with him so that he could use it if necessary. Machete asked him what he would do if he died, but Sam replied that he didn't have to worry about it, because he definitely wouldn't die while drawing his sword. Sam said he would go out onto the balcony to get information, only by force. Machete reminded him that the building was closed for the night, and there were 105 floors, and the descent would be too long. Sam took a few steps forward, then jumped into the air, ignoring the indignant cries of his comrade. Machete asked him if he was planning to fly away on his motorcycle, noting that it would make so much noise. That stone would hear the whole house. Sam switched all of his stats to agility, after which the skeleton asked him if he was going to jump, stating that it would definitely be fatal. Sam said he had to do something, thinking that this sky full of clouds would not be his best cover. Immediately after that, he pushed off with his feet forward to rush downwards at incredible speed. Machete began to scream to himself, asking for someone to save him. But Sam was thinking that the cold wind was howling very loudly. As he plummeted downwards at an incredible speed, he realized that it would rain that night, but that would only work to his advantage in his plans.